Chapter 949. No. I definitely won't agree. Mo Chuan firmly replied, Chu Xiaoyang, if you want the jade seal, I'll give it to you. If you want the throne, I'll give it to you. Even if you want my life, I'll give it to you without any hesitation. You can take everything I have, but only her you can't. Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold laugh. But don't forget, you're the one begging me right now. If I don't save her, she will only have death. Hearing this, Chu Xiaobai couldn't hold it in anymore. With a putong sound, he also kneeled down in front of Chu Xiaoyang and looked up at him with tears in his eyes. Third brother, I've never begged you for anything in my life, I'm only begging you for this one thing. Please save Ning. The emperor has already given you the throne, isn't the thing you want the most the throne? You can't be too greedy. Chu Xiaoyang coldly cut him off. I'm greedy? The greedy one is clearly him, Mo Chuan. He has already taken the throne from me, but he is still not satisfied. He has taken the woman I love the most from me, humiliated me, laughed at me and looked down on me. Now I'm just taking back all the things he has taken from me. If we're talking about greed, is there anyone more greedy than Mo Chuan in this world? He made Chu Xiaobai speechless. Chu Xiaobai knew that Chu Xiaoyang was speaking nonsense, but he couldn't find any words to refute him. Mo Chuan, I, Chu Xiaoyang, keep my words. As long as you write the edict, I'll immediately take out the snow ginseng to save Ning'er's life. Relax, I won't go back on my words. No matter how heartless I, Chu Xiaoyan, am, I won't leave my woman to die. Chu Xiaoyang looked at Mo Chuan with a playful smile on his face. He was confident that Mo Chuan would agree to his conditions, because he had no other choice. But what he didn't expect was that Mo Chuan was kneeling in front of him. He had a firm expression as he shook his head and spat out a single word. No. Chu Xiaoyang's smile froze and he looked at him in disbelief. What are you saying? Don't you know the consequences of not agreeing? She will die. Don't you love Ning'er? Do you have the heart to watch her die? If you return her to me, you won't lose out at all. She was originally my woman and I will save her. Even if you can't have her, you can still see her. Didn't you say that you knew how to love? Is this how you love her? At the end of the day, you're a selfish bastard. You don't love her at all, and you don't deserve to love her. Mo Chuan looked right into his eyes and said word for word, Chu Xiaoyang, the one who doesn't understand love is you. Even now, you still refuse to come to your senses. I can't agree to your conditions because I've always respected her wishes. I know that she would rather die than return to your side and become your exclusive slave. I will give her to you. You can take everything I have, I'm willing to use everything to exchange for the snow ginseng that can save my life, but only her, I can't. She's not a commodity or a bargaining chip. She's a person. Each of his words was as heavy as 1,000 caddies, powerful and resonating. Chu Xiaobai almost wanted to cheer for his words. He looked at Mo Chuan with eyes of worship and admiration. This was the emperor that he admired and admired. Third brother, he could never compare. Ning'er did not choose the wrong person. Chapter 950. Chu Xiaoyang giggled as he clapped twice. Ning'er really is a fool. It's a pity that your sweet words can fool her, but you can't fool me, Chu Xiaoyang. Mo Chuan, you are simply selfish. You would rather let her die than give her to another man. What use is there in your flowery words? As long as I don't give you the snow ginseng, she will quickly become a dead person. Don't regret it at that time. He suddenly withdrew the smile on his face and coldly said, Since you don't agree to my conditions, then you can leave. I will not hand over the snow ginseng. I have hidden the snow ginseng in a very hidden place. Other than me, no one can find it. Don't think of getting a single word out of my mouth. Mo Chuan, I don't care about your throne. I like seeing you in pain and seeing you suffer. I like seeing your loved ones die in front of you. If you want to kill me, that's fine, but if you want the snow ginseng, that's impossible. Chu Xiaobai looked at Chu Xiaoyang in a daze and said in a hoarse voice, Third brother, what is your heart made of? How could you say such cruel and heartless things? Can you bear to see Ning'er die? So, your love for her is fake. Ning'er is right, you don't love her at all. You just want to possess her and have her belong to you alone. You don't love her, you don't love her at all. Shut up. It's not up to you to interfere in my affairs. Love, what is love? Chu Xiaobai, how old are you? Do you understand love? Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. You like her, you already liked her when she was still my princess. Is the word Ning'er something you can call? She even affectionately calls you Xiaobai. Chu Xiaobai, what kind of good thing are you? You are my blood-related little brother, but you seduced my sister-in-law behind my back. Do you even have the face to criticize me? Chu Xiaoyang snorted at him as he spoke with a cold smile. Chu Xiaobai's face instantly turned red and he angrily shouted, "It's true that I like her, but I only have feelings for her, there is nothing between us. I have never seduced her before. You keep saying that she's my sister-in-law, but before you saw her face, did you ever think of her as your wife? Did you love her at that time? Did you wish for her to die earlier at that time? You treated her as a thorn in your side. You are not worthy to be her husband at all." Chu Xiaoyang coldly said, "I don't want to waste words with you right now. Chu Mo Chuan, if you don't agree to my conditions, then immediately disappear from my sight. I hate seeing you kneel in front of me like a coward. Do you know what you look like right now? You are like a pitiful beggar kneeling on the ground, begging for my charity." He spoke in a harsh and sarcastic manner, using the sharpest words to hurt Mo Chuan. He wanted to humiliate the other side, he wanted to use all his strength to humiliate him. Chu even he Xiaoyang he Chu. He was suddenly worried. Would the emperor take his third brother's life in a fit of rage? Mo Chuan stared at Chu Xiaoyang. His face was snow white and his eyes were black, like a bottomless abyss. Chapter 951. Very good, I won't beg you anymore. Your conditions, I won't agree to them no matter what. After saying this, he turned around and jumped out of the window. Chu Mo Chuan, stop. Come back. Chu Xiaoyang never thought that he would leave like this. He rushed to the window in a rush and shouted out in a sharp voice. I haven't finished speaking yet. I can change my conditions, I will change my conditions. Mo Chuan's footsteps stopped and he turned around. His red wedding robes fluttered in the wind, making his face look very pale. What conditions? Although he knew that Chu Xiaoyang would not give up this easily, he still had a trace of hope. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes turned and he thought about it. I don't want you to marry her to me, she is still your Chu Mo Chuan's empress. But I want her to accompany me for one night, I want your wedding night. You can agree to this condition. She won't know who I am and I won't tell her who I am. As long as the light is blown out, she won't see anything and won't know anything. Chu Xiaoyang. You're too shameless. You can even say such despicable, shameless, disgusting words. You're not a man at all. Chu Xiaobai's face turned blood red and he began to curse at Chu Xiaoyang again. Chu Xiaoyang gave an uncaring smile and said, I have a temper. If I want something, I will spare no effort to obtain it. Even if I can't obtain her heart, I will obtain her body. Chuamo Chuan, as long as you let her accompany me for one night, I promise you that I won't bother her in the future. I just want her for one night. This condition shouldn't be too much, right? What answered him was Emo Chuan's hot slap to his face. This slap was very heavy. Chu Xiaoyang felt his cheeks heat up and a bloody taste came out of his mouth. Chuamo Chuan, you dare hit me. Based on what? Do you know that her life is in my hands? If I don't save her, she will die. Chu Xiaoyang went crazy with rage. His eyes turned red like a wild beast as he roared at Emo Chuan. Emo Chuan did not say a single word. After hitting Chu Xiaoyang, he looked at Chu Xiaoyang with an extremely disdainful gaze before turning around and leaving without looking back. Chuamo Chuan, come back. Don't you want the snow ginseng to save her life? Come back and beg me. Kneel down and kowtow to me and I will give it to you. Come back. Emo Chuan's disdainful gaze instantly defeated Chu Xiao. Chu Xiao Emo Chuan's heart. He looked at the empty window in disbelief. Emo Chuan's red figure had already disappeared. He go like this. He go. Wasn't he bent on saving her life? Didn't he give up everything to save her? He say go. He hadn't even finished enjoying the thrill of victory when he was suddenly slapped in the face by the other party. The anger in his chest hadn't been vented yet. How could he just leave like that? Chu Emo Chuan, I'm telling you, if I don't save her, she can only die. Do you hear me? Scram back here for father. Chu Xiaoyang angrily cursed out. His eyes were filled with the look of disdain Emo Chuan gave him before he left. It was like he was looking at a pile of trash, a pile of dog shit. Chapter 952. Chu Xiaobai stood up from the ground without saying a word. He did not care about Chu Xiaoyang, who was screaming out the window like a madman. He picked up the jade seal that Chu Xiaoyang and Emo Chuan had ignored and put it into his chest. He then picked up the imperial edict with the jade seal and tore it into pieces. Then he waved his hand at Chu Xiaoyang and the pieces of paper fell down like snowflakes, falling onto Chu Xiaoyang's head, body, and shoulders. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly turned around from the window and stared at Chu Xiaobai with dark eyes. What are you doing? You. What did you just tear? Where's the edict? Where's my abdication edict? Chu Xiaobai, you actually tore my abdication edict. You. I'll kill you. He picked up a piece of paper from his shoulder and after looking at it, his eyes turned red. With a wild roar he charged at Chu Xiaobai. Chu Xiaobai's figure flashed and he dodged this wild tiger-like attack. He turned his palm and hit Chu Xiaoyang's back, causing Chu Xiaoyang to fall to the ground. Chu Xiaoyang's martial arts were not below Chu Xiaobai's, but his mind was in chaos. That move revealed an opening and he was easily knocked down by Chu Xiaobai. But Chu Xiaobai had only used less than 10% of his strength, so Chu Xiaoyang was not injured at all. He stood up from the ground and with a wave of his right hand, a cold glowing long sword appeared in his hand. Chu Xiaobai, you forced me to do this, you're seeking death yourself. He stabbed at Chu Xiaobai's chest. With a cheese sound, the long sword pierced through his chest. It went from Chu Xiaobai's chest to his back and blood immediately dyed his snow-white clothes red. Chu Xiaobai's body slightly swayed but he still did not fall. He did not look at the sword piercing his body. His eyes filled with tears as he looked at Chu Xiaoyang. Chu Xiaoyang was stunned as he looked at Chu Xiaobai's clothes dyed red. He saw his handsome face turn pale and his body waver. His hand holding the sword hilt began to violently tremble. Why didn't you dodge? What? I didn't do it on purpose. Xiaobai, you clearly could have dodged this sword, why didn't you dodge it? Chu Xiaoyang forcefully pulled out his sword and blood sprayed out from Chu Xiaobai's chest. That warm blood splashed onto Chu Xiaoyang's face and it was like a burning flame was burning him. When the sword was pulled out, Chu Xiaobai could no longer stand. His body swayed and he fell down. Chu Xiaoyang charged over and hugged him. His fingers moved like lightning as he quickly poked several acupuncture points on Chu Xiaobai's chest to help him stop the bleeding. Then he quickly took out some medicine from his chest. People who practiced martial arts like them would always carry Jinchuang ointment with them. Xiao medicine? He tore the front of his clothes into a mess and found that his chest was empty. Only then did he realize that he was wearing luxurious clothes to attend a banquet in the palace. How could he have put any kind of wound medicine in it? Xiao he came. Father's fu. Chu Xiaoyang raised his voice and roared, but it was silent outside and there was not a single person. He immediately understood that the Fu family's secret guards must have been silently taken care of by Emo Chuan. He gritted his teeth in hatred. Chu Mo Chuan, if Xiaobai dies, I'll take your life with him. Chapter 953. Chu Xiaoyang stumbled out of the peach blossom little house. His footsteps were weak and his mind was in a mess, forgetting to use his qigong. Only when the cool night wind blew on his burning cheeks did his mind clear up a bit. There were 2 thunderbolts rumbling in his mind, and he was almost unable to think. Ning'er had been poisoned and was about to die. Xiaobai had been injured by a sword and was about to die. One was his most beloved girl and the other was his closest brother. Why did the people closest to him have to leave him? What? He really wanted to shout into the sky, he really wanted to roar out, and he really wanted to curse out loud. But he couldn't do anything right now. He had to quickly save Xiaobai's life. No matter what, he couldn't let his hands be stained with his little brother's blood. He couldn't. He charged into the underground secret room in a single breath and placed the unused snow ginseng there. Although the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng was a rare treasure, he did not treat it as a treasure. He kept it because when he saw it, he couldn't help thinking of her. The 1,000-year-old snow ginseng had the miraculous effect of curing all kinds of poisons. With it, Chu Xiaobai could be saved. Chu Xiaoyang knew how powerful his sword was. The sword had pierced through Chu Xiaobai's lungs, and although it did not pierce through his heart, it had caused him to lose a large amount of blood, making it very dangerous. But there was only half a snow ginseng. If he saved Xiaobai, he couldn't save her. Who did he have to save? Chu Xiaoyang held the snow ginseng and fell into a painful struggle. In front of Mo Chuan he spoke with deep hatred. Even when Mo Chuan was kneeling in front of him, he did not let go. But if he asked himself honestly, could he really watch her die and not save her? Was he really like what Chu Xiaobai said, wishing for her to die? He hated her. In front of the West Chu and East Qing countries' thousands of eyes, she had written a divorce letter to divorce him, making him lose all face. He hated her. When she boarded Namu Kuo's carriage and did not look back, he hated her. When he took out his heart and gave it to her, but she did not even look back, he hated her. When she wore a red veil and married another man, becoming someone else's bride, he hated her even more. But the deeper the hate, the deeper the love. When he heard that she was going to die, his heart trembled. In this world only he could save her. In his hand was the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng that saved her life. He thought that this was the best gift the heavens had given him. After going around in circles, she could finally return to his side. The snow ginseng in his hands had become the best leverage he could use to blackmail Mabai. It was his most powerful weapon. But Chu Xiaoyang never would have dreamed that this weapon would lose its effectiveness. Mo Chuan actually did not accept his conditions. He would rather let her die than let Chu Xiaoyang have her. Even if it was just for a short night, he was not willing. Since it was like this, why would Chu Shaoling medicine to save her? Save her, and then watch her become someone else's bride with his own eyes? Mabai Chuan Xiaobai Ling Sushi Chuan. Xiao, Qin. King under man. Chu Xiaoyang would not be a fool like this. Not to mention that Chu Xiaobai was his blood-related little brother. Blood was thicker than water. How could he watch Chu Xiaobai die and not save him? Chu Xiaoyang quickly made his decision. He wanted to save Chu Xiaobai. Chapter 954. Chu Xiaoyang held a bowl of steaming hot soup as he ran into the peach blossom little house. Chu Xiaobai was still lying on the bed like when he left, not moving at all. His face was pale without a trace of blood and his long and thick eyelashes were hanging down. The white clothes on his chest were already dyed red with blood. He was filled with death energy without any signs of life. Chu Xiaoyang was shocked. He put down the bowl of medicine and quickly felt his pulse. He found that it was still slightly beating and he let out a sigh of relief. As long as he was still alive, this snow ginseng soup would be able to cure his injury. Xiaobai, are you still awake? Can you hear me? I am your third brother. Chu Xiaoyang took out the best ointment in the palace and carefully applied it to Chu Xiaobai's wound. The wound was very deep and it shocked him. Thinking that he was the one who made this fatal wound, his nose filled with regret and he almost began to cry. If anyone else dared to hurt Chu Xiaobai like this, he would be the first to not forgive them. But the person who had made this kind of terrifying wound on his little brother was himself. He applied the ointment to Chu Xiaobai while large drops of tears flowed down. Xiaobai, you're not allowed to die. No matter what, you can't die. I only have you as my little brother in this world, if even you leave me. His voice was choked. Chu Xiaobai slightly opened his eyes and saw the tears in Chu Xiaoyang's eyes. He was shocked and wanted to raise his hand to wipe the tears, but his hand only slightly raised before falling down powerlessly. Although that sword strike was not fatal, it had injured his lungs, causing him to lose a lot of blood. His body felt weak without any strength left. He said in a soft voice, "Third brother, I'm fine. I'm not in pain, it's just a small wound, you don't need to be this sad. My body has always been good, how could I die from a small wound like this? You're looking down on this little brother too much. Coo. He pretended to be relaxed and made a joke, but he didn't know that he couldn't take a breath and immediately started coughing violently. Strings of bloody foam came out of his mouth and flowed down the corner of his mouth. Xiao Bai, you're not allowed to speak, you're not allowed to say a single word. Chu Xiaoyang quickly wiped the blood from his lips, but there was more and more. You won't die. You are my blood brother. In this world, no one can compare to you in my heart. I have already boiled the remaining half of the snow ginseng into soup. As long as you drink it, your life will be saved. Come, sit up, I will feed you. Chu Xiaoyang held Chu Xiaobai's shoulder and let him lean against the bed. Then he reached out to grab the bowl of soup. No, third brother, I won't drink. This snow ginseng soup is the item to save Ning'er's life. I can't spoil it. Chu Xiaobai's eyes went wide in shock. He could smell the thick ginseng smell in the soup, so he tightly closed his mouth. How can that woman's life be compared to yours? Not to mention that she would rather die than be my woman. Even if she was really my woman, I would still choose to save you and not her. Brothers are like my hands and feet, my wife is like my clothes. I definitely won't treat my hands lightly and clothes lightly. Come, Xiaobai, drink while it's hot. Chu Xiaoyang had an expressionless face as he brought the bowl of soup to Chu Xiaobai's lips. Chu Xiaobai forcefully shook his head. His lips were tightly closed and his expression was filled with stubbornness. Chapter 955. Chu Xiaoyang seemed like he was getting impatient. He raised his hand and pinched Chu Xiaobai's nose, forcing him to open his mouth. Then he poured the soup into his mouth. At this moment he suddenly felt the Danzhong acupuncture point on his chest go numb and he couldn't move at all. His eyes opened wide as he stared at Chu Xiaobai, who was right in front of him. I'm sorry, third brother. This little brother has lied to you, but this little brother can't let Ning'er die like this. Chu Xiaobai's index finger pointed at Chu Xiaoyang's chest and he slowly withdrew his hand. That acupuncture point just now had used all the internal energy in his body. Although he had injured himself, the injury he received from that sword strike was not fake. He stood up shakily from the bed, feeling weak and powerless. Because of the loss of blood, his vision turned black as if he could fall at any time. He felt extremely tired, and all he wanted to do was close his eyes and have a good sleep. He didn't care about anything else and just slept for a while. But he knew that once he closed his eyes, he would never wake up again. Chu Xiaobai raised his hand and forcefully pressed against the wound on his chest. The intense pain made his body twitch, but because of this pain, it drove away his tiredness. He took a deep breath and took the soup bowl from Chu Xiaoyang's hand, carefully not spilling a single drop. This soup bowl contained the elixir that could save her life. He had to quickly send it into the palace to feed it to her. Chu Xiaobai looked up and met Chu Xiaoyang's gaze. That gaze was cold, sharp, and did not contain a single trace of emotion. It was completely different from the worried gaze from before. His heart filled with pain. Third brother, this little brother has let you down. When this little brother saves Ning'er, this little brother will apologize to you. At that time, if you want to hit or punish me, this little brother will not have a single word of complaint. Third brother, don't blame me. You can bear not saving Ning'er, but I can't. Chu Xiaobai closed his eyes. He knew that by doing this he had already created a deep gap between them. His third brother? Perhaps he would never forgive him in this lifetime, but he couldn't not do this. He could not watch someone die. He took off his blood-soaked white robe, tore off a piece of the hem, and wrapped it around the wound on his chest, then tied a knot. Then he found one of Chu Xiaoyang's robes in the room and put it on, covering the wound on his chest. Other than his face being a bit pale, there wasn't anything abnormal about him. He carefully held the soup bowl and without looking back he walked out. In the Guan Osprey Palace, Yi Tingxian held the gold medal left behind by Mo Chuan as he stood at the door. Looking at the deep night, his heart was as dark as the night. He had been thinking about who the killer was and what motive they had, but he couldn't find a single clue. In the bedroom, Dr. Chen Ning'er Xiaoning's heart. He had already used all the methods he could think of to force the poison out of her body, but none of them worked. This was because snake venom was different from other poisons. After it entered the bloodstream, it could quickly paralyze a person's nervous system. If Chen Ning hadn't taken a bowl of snow ginseng soup, she would have already died from the snake venom. Although his medical skills were superb, it was difficult for him to save a dying person. Chapter 956. Emperor, you're back. Did you get the 1,000-year snow? Yi Tingxian was in a daze when his eyes suddenly blurred. A red figure floated down from the roof, and looking over, it was Mo Chuan. When he saw Mo Chuan's face, he knew the result. He instantly swallowed the second half of his words. Mo Chuan's face was as calm as water. His eyes were like a deep pool, not showing any emotions at all. But the more it was like this, the more worried Yi Tingxian was. Tingxian, come in. Mo Chuan walked into the bedroom with large steps and spoke in a deep voice. Yi Tingxian's body turned cold. He was a foreign minister and couldn't enter the back palace without the emperor's orders, so he had been guarding the door without taking a single step in. The emperor had actually called him in at this time. His heart filled with a bad feeling. Tingxian helped this one draft an edict. Mo Chuan sat in front of the bed. He didn't look up at Yi Tingxian, and his eyes were deeply looking at Chen Ning's face. The black qi on her face seemed to be a bit thicker, but there wasn't a trace of sadness on her face, there was only calmness. Edict. Yi Tingxian was a bit stunned. What edict? A posthumous edict. Mo Chuan softly said. Yi Tingxian and Dr. Zhang were both shocked. Dr. Zhang almost fell off the stool. He suspected that he had heard wrong because he was deaf. Emperor. Yi Tingxian clearly heard it. He fell to the ground with a plop as his nose turned sour and his eyes filled with tears. You mustn't. You mustn't. Dr. Zhang trembled as he kneeled on the ground. Emperor, you mustn't have this kind of thought. It's all because this old minister's medical skills are shallow. This old minister will immediately look through the medical books and will definitely think of a way to save the Empress' life. He kowtowed to Mo Chuan before standing up and staggering out of the bedroom. Mo Chuan held Chen Ning's hand. Her fingers were stiff and cold, but he was still unwilling to let go. Chu Xiaoyang's words filled with hatred rang in his ears. Mo Chuan, you're too greedy. You took away my throne and then you took away my most beloved woman. This is God's punishment for you, your retribution. This sentence was like a knife stabbing deep into his heart, causing him to feel pain. He stared at her pale face. She was so still that she looked like she was asleep. She would probably never wake up again. If this was really God's punishment for him, then why didn't it fall on him? Why did he let her go? He was willing to use his life to exchange for hers. He felt a sharp pain in his chest. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood on the golden brick floor. It looked like a blood-colored flower had bloomed. Emperor. Yi Tingxian gave a shocked cry, knowing that Mo Chuan's blood was caused by his anger. He must have been filled with despair, but he suppressed it and didn't reveal it. Mo Chuan slowly raised his head. He looked at the sky outside the hall and slowly spoke. Tingxian, are you saying that this Zhen is very greedy? Is it because I want too much that the heavens are punishing me like this, taking away the person I love the most from me? Don't you think so? Chapter 957. Mo Chuan silently looked away and forcefully gritted his teeth. That's right, he couldn't fall into despair. There was still 20 hours of time, perhaps a miracle would happen in this period of time. His Ninger was smart and kind, she had never harmed a single person before. She had just done a great favor to the West Chu citizens. The heavens would not take her life like this, it would be too unfair to her. Tingxian, you're right, this one shouldn't fall into despair. This one believes that Ning will be blessed by the heavens, she will definitely recover. Mo Chuan helped her smooth out her hair and caressed her smooth as jade cheeks. He spoke in a soft voice that was so low that only he could hear. If the heavens are truly jealous of you and want to take you away, then I will accompany you, I definitely won't let you go alone. Without you, what meaning is there for me to stay in this world? Ning, I want to hear you speak and see you smile. Even if you want to tease me or make fun of me, you can do whatever you want. We haven't finished our wedding night, so don't think you can hide like this. I won't let you go, even if you run to the ends of the earth, I will definitely chase you and take back the debt you owe me. His lips curled into a faint smile. Thinking back to the time he spent with her, his heart was filled with warmth. At this moment he didn't feel sad or sad. Regardless of whether it was heaven on earth, heaven or hell, he had already decided to be with her, never to be separated. If she was in heaven, he would be in heaven. If she went to hell, he would go to hell with her. If she stopped breathing, he would not live in this world for another moment. Although Yi Tingxian couldn't hear what Mo Chuan was saying, seeing the smile on his face, his heart filled with a chill. The emperor could still smile at this time. This meant that the emperor had not given up on dying yet. If the empress really was gone, the emperor would definitely follow her. No, he definitely couldn't do this. He had to think of a way to stop the emperor's crazy thoughts. But how could he stop it? Yi Tingxian's clear mind suddenly turned into a pot of porridge. The more anxious he was, the more he couldn't think of a way. That's right, Empress Dowager Zhou. The emperor was the most filial to his mother. Other than the empress, the one he listened to the most was the Empress Dowager. If the Empress Dowager came, she would definitely be able to dispel the emperor's thoughts of suicide. Yi Tingxian's eyes lit up. He wanted to immediately think of a way to inform Empress Dowager Zhou, but thinking about it, the Empress Dowager Zhou was still in the dark. She did not know that the empress was married to the emperor. If she knew before the empress died, the Empress Dowager Tingxian would send out a decree and directly bestow her to death. This was not right. This was absolutely not right. Yi Tingxian's heart felt like it was doused with a ladle of hot oil, burning like a fire. Before he could think of a way, he suddenly heard a loud dong sound coming from the door of the hall. Mo Chuan clearly heard it, but he didn't care about it at all. He didn't care about anything right now, and he didn't care at all. Yi Tingxian looked up and was instantly shocked. He saw Chu Xiaobai hit a door and he shook his head, almost falling over. Xiao. How did you bump into the door? Don't tell me you didn't wear your eyes? Chapter 958. Chu Xiaobai calmed himself down. There was a large bump on his forehead and it was very painful, but he didn't feel it at all. It wasn't easy for him to make it here. His consciousness had already become hazy, and all he could think about was that he had to bring the medicine to her side without spilling a single drop. However, he didn't notice that his wound had already opened up, and blood was still gushing out, soaking through the cloth and dripping down the road. Husband Yi, it's good that you're here. Quickly give this medicine to her, quickly. He carefully handed the bowl of medicine to Yi Tingxian like he was holding a rare treasure. Yi Tingxian couldn't help asking, what medicine is this? Soup made from 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. Chu Xiaobai said in a soft voice. He felt like he was floating and he didn't have any strength left in his body. He just wanted to lie down and close his eyes, never opening them again. If it weren't for that inexplicable spiritual force supporting him, he would have collapsed halfway. His heart relaxed at this time and he slid down to the ground. Xiaobai, what's wrong? Yi Tingxian was shocked. He held the bowl of medicine in one hand and supported Chu Xiaobai with the other, but he was a weak scholar and didn't have enough strength. He was afraid of spilling the soup, so he could only watch Chu Xiaobai slide down his arm and lie down on the ground. Husband Yi, I'm fine, I'm just too tired. I'll be fine after resting for a bit. You. Quickly give the ginseng soup to Ning and have the emperor give it to her. Chu Xiaobai used all the strength in his body to reveal a faint smile on his face. He could only do this much for her. He was just too tired right now and wanted to have a good sleep. He slowly closed his eyes and his handsome face revealed a gratified smile. Yi Tingxian did not doubt him. When he heard that the soup in his hand was 1,000-year-old snow ginseng soup, he was filled with excitement. He saw Chu Xiaobai close his eyes and thought that he had fallen asleep from exhaustion, so he did not disturb him. Your Majesty, the Empress can be saved. This is the snow ginseng soup sent by His Highness King Jingyan, soup made from 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. As long as she drinks this, the Empress can be saved. He carefully brought the bowl of medicine to the bed, not spilling a single drop. The bowl of medicine was warm to the touch and it seemed like Chu Xiaobai had been holding it the entire way here, using his body to warm it up. Mo Chuan's mind was completely focused on Chen Ning, not caring about anything else. He didn't even feel Chu Xiaobai's arrival. It wasn't until Yi Tingxian excitedly shouted beside him with the ginseng soup did he come back to his senses, frowning as he looked at Yi Tingxian. What did you just say, snow ginseng soup? That's right, Emperor, look, Xiaobai just sent this over. He said it's a soup made from 1,000-year-old snow ginseng and it's still warm. Quickly feed it to the Empress. Tingxian respectfully gave the bowl of medicine to Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan looked at the bowl of soup in disbelief. He reached out to take it and smelled the fragrance of ginseng. The soup was a thick snow-white color, it really was 1,000-year-old snow ginseng soup. Only he had never seen this before so he didn't dare believe it. But when he heard that it was sent by Chu Xiaobai, all his doubts were dispelled. Chapter 959. Mo Chuan was filled with excitement. Where's Xiaobai? His eyes swept over and he saw Chu Xiaobai lying at the door. He was shocked. What happened to him? He's too tired, he said he wanted to rest. He must be tired from running all the way here. Emperor, should we test this ginseng soup for poison before giving it to the Empress? Yi Tingxian asked in a soft voice. According to the rules of the palace, all the food given to the Emperor and Empress had to be tested for poison with silver needles. Although he believed that the things Chu Xiaobai brought wouldn't be poisoned, he still asked this question. No need, this one believes in Xiaobai. Mo Chuan shook his head without even thinking. He looked at Chu Xiaobai lying at the door and without knowing why, his heart suddenly felt that something was wrong. With Chu Xiaobai's martial arts, how could he be so tired that he was lying on the ground without moving? He put down the bowl of medicine and stood up. He walked over to Chu Xiaobai's side and looked down at him. Chu Xiaobai had his eyes closed and was silently lying on the ground, like he was asleep. He was wearing a deep purple robe that contrasted with his snow-white face. It was so white that there wasn't a trace of blood on it. This robe clearly belonged to Chu Xiaoyang. Mo Chuan's brows jumped up. Xiaobai, he said in a soft voice. Chu Xiaobai did not react at all. He just silently laid there with a pale face and dark eyes closed. His long eyelashes covered his eyes, not moving at all. Mo Chuan once again felt that this was bad. With Chu Xiaobai's internal energy, it was impossible for him not to hear him. Even if he was asleep, he would immediately wake up from his sleep. Xiaobai, he loudly shouted. Chu Xiaobai still did not move at all. Mo Chuan quickly touched his chest and found that his heart was still beating. However, his hand was wet and he could smell the scent of blood. He pulled open Chu Xiaobai's clothes and saw the deep wound on his chest that was leaking blood. He couldn't help taking in a cold breath. Xiaobai. Yi Tingxian saw it and instantly cried out, I'll immediately call Dr. Zhang, I'll immediately go. He lost his usual composure and stumbled out of the room. Mo Chuan was much calmer than Yi Tingxian. He was very experienced in dealing with knife and sword wounds. He could see that Chu Xiaobai's wound had already been applied with medicine and it had been simply bandaged. If he had just quietly laid there, his wound would not have bled again. He must have been injured and rushed into the palace to give her life-saving medicine without caring about his own injuries. Not long ago Chu Xiaobai was still fine, so how could he suddenly suffer such a heavy wound? Where did he get the snow ginseng soup from? Mo Chuan thought about it and understood most of it. His eyes couldn't help turning hot. Xiaobai, you're really stupid. In order to save Ning'er, you don't even want your life? Xiao Xiaoyang he, Xiao 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 Chen Chu Xiao Xiaoyang said. Xiao 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 is Yang. Now he did not care about scolding Chu Xiaoyang, he had to save Chu Xiaobai's life. He knew that Chu Xiaobai was not asleep but had fainted. If he didn't save him in time he might not wake up again. But there was only one bowl of life-saving snow ginseng soup. If he saved Xiaobai he couldn't save Ning'er. What should he choose? Save Xiaobai or save Ning'er? Chapter 960. Emperor Dr. Zhang is here. When Mo Chuan found it hard to make a decision, Yi Tingxian pulled the panting Dr. Zhang in. Seeing Dr. Zhang, Mo Chuan's eyes lit up and he tightly grabbed Dr. Zhang's hand like he was grasping a life-saving straw. Quickly save Xiaobai, quickly save him. Dr. Zhang was still holding a medical book in his hand, but he didn't have time to put it down before he was pulled over by Yi Tingxian. When he saw the wound on Chu Xiaobai's chest he was also shocked. Emperor, you can be assured. As long as King Jing still has a breath, this old minister will definitely save him. He opened the medical box and took out a knife, scissors, pliers, needles and thread. He first cleaned Chu Xiaobai's sword wound and then applied some ointment. Dr. Zhang's ointment was naturally very good. Not long after it was applied the blood stopped flowing. His hands did not stop as he placed a thread through the needle and began to sew Chu Xiaobai's wound up. Although he was old, his hands were very steady. The needle flew and the thread was very skilled. In just a short while he had already sewn up the bone-deep wound. Dr. Zhang, King Jing and he. Will he come back to life? Yi Tingxian had never seen this kind of incredible treatment method before and his eyes almost popped out. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva before he could speak. Dr. Zhang didn't even raise his head as he said, "Take out the triangular bottle with the blue dot in the medicine box." Yi Tingxian did not dare hesitate. He found a triangular medicine bottle from the medical box and gave it to Dr. Zhang. "Bring a bowl of water." Yi Tingxian poured another bowl of water. Dr. Zhang directly opened Chu Xiaobai's mouth and poured all the red pills in the bottle into his mouth. Then he poured a large bowl of water into his mouth. Chu Xiaobai was already unconscious and half the bowl of water had spilled out. Another bowl. Dr. Zhang poured 3 bowls of water before Chu Xiaobai swallowed all the pills in his mouth. He finally let out a sigh of relief and wiped the sweat off his forehead before saying, "He's fine now, but he has lost a lot of blood and his wound has just been sewn up, so he can't move or it will rupture the wound." Yi Tingxian couldn't help asking, Dr. Zhang, your meaning is King Jing and he's fine? Dr. Zhang rolled his eyes at him and snappily said, What, husband? Yi looks down on this old man's medical skills? Tingxian doesn't dare. Yi Tingxian knew that although Dr. Zhang's medical skills were high, he had a strange temper, so he didn't dare offend him. Seeing the deep sword wound on Chu Xiaobai's chest and seeing him bleeding so much, Yi Tingxian's intuition told him that he couldn't be saved. He never thought that Dr. Zhang's medical skills would be as magical as the legend said. He couldn't help clicking his tongue in surprise. Many thanks, Dr. Zhang, you've worked hard. Xiaobai's life was saved by you. To Emo Zhang. Xian's to him too, to say to King to be to him. His Highness King Jing only has an external wound, he only needs to stop the bleeding and be nursed back to health. This can't be considered any skill. This old minister is incompetent and my medical skills are shallow, I cannot save the Empress. Dr. Zhang had a look of shame as he gave a sigh. Yi Tingxian said with a face filled with joy, Dr. Zhang, King Jing has just sent over the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng soup. Didn't you say that this snow ginseng soup had the effect of reviving the dead? Really? Where is the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng soup? Chapter 961. It's over there. Yi Tingxian pointed at the bowl of medicine on the table. Dr. Zhang was surprised and happy. He quickly walked in front of the table and picked up the bowl of medicine, carefully looking over it. He had only heard of the rumored 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, but he had never seen it before. His heart was filled with excitement and his wrist began to slightly tremble. Dr. Zhang, you have to be careful. This is a life-saving elixir if you spill a drop. Yi Tingxian quickly reminded him. Dr. Zhang nodded. Of course he knew how precious this medicine was. He looked at the medicine soup, which was white in color and had a very thick smell of ginseng. Strange, there seems to be something wrong with this ginseng soup. He suddenly knit his brows. He could smell that under this thick smell of ginseng, there seemed to be a faint fishy smell, but it was covered by the smell of ginseng. What's wrong? Xiaobai personally brought this over, this one believes that there is no problem with this ginseng soup. Emo Chuan looked down at the unconscious Chu Xiaobai and his heart filled with excitement. Chu Xiaobai risked his life to bring this medicine, how could it be fake? Dr. Zhang did not reply. His right hand trembled and a bit of the ginseng soup was poured out. Dr. Zhang, what are you doing? Yi Tingxian was shocked as he came forward to take the bowl of medicine in his hand. With a chi sound, the drop of ginseng soup fell onto the hard golden brick floor, letting out a soft sound. Emo Chuan and Yi Tingxian looked over at the same time and saw a small hole in the ground corroded by the ginseng soup. The two of them were instantly shocked. Emperor, this ginseng soup is poisonous. Yi Tingxian's face was filled with shock as his voice trembled. Emo Chuan's face changed. He stared at the ginseng soup with eyes filled with disbelief. The ginseng soup that Chu Xiaobai brought actually had a bone-piercing poison? How was this possible? Test the poison. Emo Chuan said in a deep voice. Dr. Zhang nodded and placed the bowl of medicine on the table. He took out a long brocade box from the medicine box and opened it. There were several silver needles that the royal family used to test for poison. He picked up a silver needle and placed it into the ginseng soup. In an instant, the shining silver needle turned black like ink. It really is poisonous. Yi Tingxian's voice began to tremble. If it wasn't for Dr. Zhang discovering the poison in the ginseng soup, perhaps the emperor would have already fed it to the empress. But how could this ginseng soup be poisonous? Emperor, this poison wasn't done by Tingxian. It has nothing to do with me. He remembered that the ginseng soup was given to Emo Chuan by him, so the emperor would definitely suspect him. This one knows that it has nothing to do with you. This poison. It was already in the soup. Emo Chuan's eyes flashed with a cold glow, but the chill in his heart became even stronger. Xiao Chu Xiaoyang, your heart. You actually used Xiaobai to send a bowl of poisonous ginseng soup over. If it wasn't for Dr. Zhang discovering the poison in the ginseng soup, Ning would have died and Chu Xiaobai would have been wronged. This was a one-stone two-birds plan. This was a one-stone. Chu Xiaoyang. Emo Chuan said word for word, spitting out these 3 words through gritted teeth. Yi Tingxian's body trembled as he muttered in disbelief. Emperor, your meaning is that this poison was planted by Chu Xiaoyang? How he is. He. Even deceiving his own little brother and using him. Is he still a human? As if replying to his words, there was a clear and melodious voice that came from outside the hall. Chapter 962. As his voice fell, Chu Xiaoyang was wearing a purple robe as he walked in from the door in high spirits. Seeing the three people in the room glaring at him, he raised his brows and gave a few sigh. It's a pity, it's a pity. If it wasn't for old man Zhang ruining this matter, there would be 3 more dead people in this room. His eyes fell onto the unconscious Chu Xiaobai at his feet. His lips slightly curled as he revealed a mocking smile. Xiaobai, Xiaobai, you are my blood-related little brother, but you betrayed me for a woman and lied to me. Do you think I, Chu Xiaoyang, am the same fool that you can fool around with? You're looking down on me too much. You actually wanted to hurt yourself for her. You wanted to trick me into giving you the antidote, but you never thought that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. You never would have dreamed that the ginseng soup you brought to the palace with your blood was poisonous, right? Sai, it's really a pity that such a good plan of mine was seen through. His words almost made Yi Tingxian's lungs explode. Chu Xiaoyang, are you even human? You even want to use your own blood-related little brother? Do you know that he almost died? He pointed at Chu Xiaoyang and gritted his teeth. If he really died, it was his own choice, it has nothing to do with me. Chu Xiaoyang looked up with an expressionless face and coldly said, he could have dodged that sword, but he didn't. I wanted to save him, but he wanted to seek his own death, bringing the life-saving medicine into the palace. Chu Xiaoyang did not wrong him, it was he who wronged me. Life-saving medicine? This medicine clearly has poison in it. Yi Tingxian shouted. That's right, I did put poison in the medicine, but so what? I just wanted to test him, but he disappointed me too much. He really was lying to me, so why would I care about his life? Husband Yi, you're saying I'm not human, but do you know that I was forced to this step by them? Mo Chuan coldly said, Chu Xiaoyang, this one doesn't want to kill you right now, but if you don't leave, don't blame this one for not considering you're the previous emperor's son. Chu Xiaoyang casually raised his brows and said with a smile, since I dared to enter the palace, naturally I did not plan on leaving alive. I just wanted to see her and heard you say that she was about to die. I already said that I wanted to personally see her die in your arms. I wanted to see your painful, heartbroken, and desperate appearance. Zaizi Emperor, you don't seem that sad, could it be that you plan on dying with her? Mo Chuan fiercely gritted his teeth and the veins on his forehead popped out. He really wanted to slap Chu Xiaoyang's despicable smiling face. That's right, your majesty, it's a joyous occasion for you and Ning. This king seems to have forgotten to give you a gift. No matter what, she was once this king's princess, so how could I be so stingy and not even give her a gift? This thing, I'll give it to you. He raised his hand and something flew at Mo Chuan. Mo Chuan was filled with rage, how could he still accept his gift? He raised his right palm and sent out a palm wind, knocking the item to the ground. He raised his hand and an item flew at Mo Chuan. The thing wrapped in the red silk scattered. Yi Tingxian looked over and immediately cried out in surprise. 1,000-year-old snow ginseng? Chapter 963. Chu Xiaoyang, what trick are you playing? Mo Chuan looked up and stared at Chu Xiaoyang. Yi Tingxian picked up the half-snow ginseng and gave it to Dr. Zhang. Dr. Zhang, quickly take a look. Is this snow ginseng real or fake? Is it poisonous or not? He asked in a somewhat worried voice. Dr. Zhang sniffed the snow ginseng and carefully looked at it for a while before saying, this is a true 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, there is no poison at all. Look at this snow ginseng, it is completely white without any impurities. If it was poisoned, you would be able to see it with a single glance. He excitedly looked at Mo Chuan. Emperor, with this 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, the Empress will definitely come back to life. This old minister will now make medicine for the Empress. Without waiting for Mo Chuan to speak, he quickly walked out of the hall with the snow ginseng and went to the side hall to make medicine. Emperor, I've given you such a large gift, are you still not satisfied? Isn't that what you've always wanted? Chu Xiaoyang calmly looked at Mo Chuan's eyes and his lips curled into a faint smile. Mo Chuan did not have a smile on his face at all. He looked at Chu Xiaoyang and suddenly said, what do you want? The throne? That's fine. When she wakes up, I'll immediately abdicate to you. Then I'll take her away from West Chu and never take a single step into West Chu territory. Hearing this, it was like Yi Tingxian was struck by lightning as he said in a stunned voice, Emperor. Chu Xiaoyang shook his head. He placed his hands behind his back and said with a proud expression, I don't want anything. You don't want it? Mo Chuan's eyes narrowed. He found that he couldn't understand Chu Xiaoyang at all. Of course I want your throne because this position belongs to me, but I don't need your charity and I don't need Ning'er's life to exchange for it. Chu Emo Chuan, I Chu Xiaoyang, do not have any areas where I can't compare to you. If I want the throne, I will openly take it back from you and not use this kind of despicable method. If I obtain the throne like this, she will look down on me for a lifetime. So, I don't want anything, I just want her to live safely. Chu Xiaoyang said word for word. His eyes went past Emo Chuan and fell onto Qin Ning's pale as snow face. He looked at her deeply. Although he knew that she was unconscious and couldn't hear a word, he still said to her, Ning, they all look down on me. They think that I, Chu Xiaoyang, am a coward, that I am not a man, that I am despicable and shameless. Even you left me without any hesitation. You saved me 8 years ago and I will never forget that, so I saved you today. An eye for an eye, we're even now. The debt I owe you has finally been paid today. I Chu Xiaoyang do not owe you anything and you do not owe me anything. Chu Xiaoyang said with a smile. He looked up and revealed a smile at Emo Chuan. Emperor, I Chu Xiaoyang will not let you all look down on me. One day I will make you all look at me in a different light. At that time I will take back everything you owe me and I will take back what belongs to me. Chu Xiaoyang raised his chin and returned to his previous arrogant, high-spirited, and domineering appearance. He turned around and strode out of the hall without looking back. Chapter 964. Heresy. This is simply heresy. Is King Ding Yuan planning to rebel? When Yi Tingxian heard the shocking words Chu Xiaoyang left behind, he was completely stunned. Tingxian, forget what you just heard. You're not allowed to remember a single word. Emo Chuan said in a deep voice. His eyes fell in the direction Chu Xiaoyang left in with a complicated gaze. Chu Xiaoyang's words were indeed disgraceful, but Emo Chuan was not angry. Because no matter what, when her life was at stake, it was Chu Xiaoyang who sent the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng that could save her life. No matter what Chu Xiaoyang's goal was, he did not care. Yes, Emperor. Tingxian did not hear anything. Yi Tingxian coldly replied. Emo Chuan nodded. But Tingxian does not understand. What does King Ding Yuan mean by this? He spent so much effort to have Xiao Bai send a bowl of poison ginseng soup over. Didn't he want to kill the Empress? Didn't he want to take revenge on the Emperor? Why did he suddenly change his mind and send out the snow ginseng like this, not asking for anything else? He doesn't even want the throne in his hands? Yi Tingxian could not understand. He thought that Chu Xiaoyang hated the Emperor and would use the snow ginseng to force the Emperor to do the thing he didn't want to do, but the result was completely out of his expectations. You don't understand? But this one understands. Emo Chuan said in a deep voice. He has his pride and dignity, he is not willing to use her life to obtain anything from this one because he doesn't want her to know and look down on him. In the end he still hasn't forgotten his feelings for Ning. Not only did he not forget his feelings were deeply rooted. For her, Chu Xiaoyang could give up anything including the throne. But Emo Chuan did not want to say this. His lips turned into a straight line. He didn't know why, but he could see through Chu Xiaoyang's heart, but he didn't want anyone to know, especially her. Dr. Zhang's medicine was quickly prepared and sent over. Although he knew that Dr. Zhang's medicine wouldn't be poisonous, Emo Chuan didn't dare be careless. He first tested the poison with the silver needles and then personally tasted it. Only when he felt the warmth flowing through his body did he relax. Qin Ning drank the snow ginseng soup and not long after, her chest began to slightly rise and fall. The faint black qi covering her face also began to disappear. Dr. Zhang took her pulse and said, "The Empress poison has been cured. As long as she rests, she will wake up tomorrow." Emo Chuan couldn't help closing his eyes and letting out a long sigh. Emo Chuan couldn't help closing his eyes and Ning was fine. He looked up at Yi Tingxian. "Tingxian, you've been tired all night, go back to the palace and rest. The eldest princess must be waiting for news in the palace. Go tell her that Ning is fine." Hearing Dr. Zhang's words, Yi Tingxian's heart that was in his throat finally fell back into his stomach. Speaking of this storm, it was all because of the eldest princess. If anything had happened to Qin Ning, he and the eldest princess would not be able to escape the blame and the eldest princess would not be able to live happily for the rest of her life. After he left Emo Chuan, he quickly left the royal palace because there was still something important in his heart. He had to find the real murderer that replaced the pillars. Chapter 965. Dr. Zhang was already old and he was indeed feeling tired. Seeing that Qin Ning had taken the snow ginseng soup and the poison had been cured, he was relieved. So he left for the side hall. Emo Chuan sent people to bring a stretcher and carefully moved Chu Xiao Bai to the side hall. He placed him in the same room as Dr. Zhang, making it convenient for Dr. Zhang to take care of him at any time. After doing all of this, Mo Chuan turned around to look at Chen Ning on the bed. He held her hand, and although her fingers were still cold, they were no longer stiff. Under the warmth of his palm, they slowly became warm. It was like waking up from a nightmare. Mo Chuan's heart was filled with joy and excitement from surviving a disaster. The pair of dragon and phoenix wedding candles on the candlesticks in the room were still burning. Her bright red wedding dress was still as bright as ever, reminding him that this was their wedding night and that these were their wedding candles in the bridal chamber. This was the scene Mo Chuan had been looking forward to for a long time, but he never thought that it would be this kind of thrilling experience. He felt that he had gone from life to death and from death to life. It was a good thing she was out of danger and she had finally returned to his side. Tightly holding her hand, he began to cry tears of joy from recovering what he had lost. Mo Chuan, Mo Chuan? She suddenly began to mutter, calling out his name. Hearing her suddenly speak, Mo Chuan was pleasantly surprised. He leaned close to her face and said in a soft voice, Ning, I'm here, I'm right beside you. Can you hear me? Her face was still pale and her lips did not have any color. She gently shook her head on the pillow and her beautiful brows slightly knit together. Her black hair fell down her shoulders like silk. Take it away, take the ice away. I'm cold, cold. Her teeth were chattering. Cold. Mo Chuan was stunned for a bit before immediately covering her with the blanket. He also laid down beside her and wrapped his arms around her body, gently holding her in his embrace, using his body heat to warm her up. Feeling his warmth, she burrowed into his embrace. Then she curled up in his embrace like a little kitten, no longer trembling and peacefully sleeping with her eyes closed. He let out a soft sigh. He was afraid that something would happen to her again, so he placed his hand into her clothes to feel her heartbeat. Her body was no longer stiff and cold, and her skin had regained its softness and elasticity. His burning hands felt like he was touching soft jade. Her heartbeat was very strong, beating again and again in his palm. Mo Chuan's breathing unknowingly became heavy. His chin rubbed against her hair and he tightly held her in his embrace. Dr. Zhang had said that she would wake up at dawn. The 1,000-year-old snow ginseng really had the miraculous effect of reviving the dead. Not long ago, her body was cold and stiff without a trace of warmth, but now she was lying warm and soft in his embrace. Mo Chuan felt like he was dreaming and he didn't dare believe this was real. He actually did a very stupid action. He forcefully pinched his thigh and the pain caused him to twitch, but his face was filled with a smile. Great, this wasn't a dream. She really was lying in his embrace and they could hear each other's breaths. He lowered his head to see her long and curly eyelashes. Her snow-white cheeks had a faint blush that was very moving. Her lips were slightly curled up and they were full and moist. Chapter 966. Mo Chuan couldn't help lowering his head and placing his lips on her smooth and full forehead before closing his eyes. Thanking the heavens he didn't take her away. Where's the ice and fire? Chen Ning seemed like she had just woken up from a long dream. She blurrily opened her eyes and saw a pair of deep eyes staring at her. The familiar gentleness in those eyes made her heart tremble. She felt like she was being held in a warm and fiery embrace. What eyes? What fire? Seeing her wake up, Mo Chuan suppressed the excitement in his heart and asked with a smile. Chen Ning's consciousness was still a bit blurry as she replied, I dreamed that I was locked in an ice house and it was very, very cold, so cold that my body was trembling. Then a fire suddenly appeared and that fire was very warm. Very quickly I wasn't cold anymore but I felt very hot. I wanted to push the fire away but the fire kept getting hotter and hotter. Mo Chuan couldn't help laughing as he said, You want to push the fire away? You can forget about pushing me away in this life. His arms tightened as he tightly held her in his embrace. His heart was filled with emotions and he couldn't control himself as he kissed her lips. Until she felt like she couldn't breathe and said while gasping for breath, Mo Chuan, you? Let go of me. I'm hot, it's really hot. She had just regained consciousness when she was passionately kissed by him. She felt her face turn red, her heart beat faster and her body become hot. Her soft and tender voice made his heart unable to stop moving. He smiled as he let go of his arms, but he still let her lie in his embrace. He used his hand to touch her forehead and found that there was a small layer of sweat on her forehead. Moreover, her face had turned from snow white to rosy. Ning, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Dr. Zhang is in the side hall. If you feel uncomfortable, I'll immediately call him over to see you. Mo Chuan saw her knit her brows and his heart jumped. I just feel hot. Emo Chuan, why is it this hot? She began to struggle a bit. Emo Chuan also felt that the body in his embrace was burning like fire. Her face became redder and redder as she became even more worried. That 1,000-year-old snow ginseng was a very nutritious item. The ginseng energy was very strong, and although it could cure all poisons, it was also a very nutritious item. She was held in Emo Chuan's embrace. His body was very hot, and adding in his fiery kiss, it was like a flame had ignited her. It made her feel like there was a fire burning in her body, making her body feel hot. It was hard to resist, and she couldn't help tearing off the red wedding dress on her body. Ning, don't move. I'll immediately call Dr. Zhang over to see you. Emo Chuan was shocked. He quickly grabbed her hand and found that her palm was even hotter than his own. He raised his voice and said, Ning's hand, Emo Chuan? Dr. Zhang was suddenly woken up from his sleep. He was so panicked that he didn't even put on his shoes and directly ran to the palace barefooted to take Chen Ning's pulse. Ti Chuan Ti say Ning and said, Emo God, Ziti Doctor, Ti Ning Ti Shiki. Emo Chuan pressed down on Chen Ning's hand, not letting her move. Her face was already so red that it looked like blood was about to drip out. Chapter 967. Doesn't matter? But she's very uncomfortable. Can't you make her feel better? Emo Chuan stared at him and said. Dr. Zhang shook his head and said, Speaking of this, the Empress' body is burning up, it should be caused by the Emperor. Emo Chuan said with a frown, What do you mean? Dr. Zhang's face turned a bit warm and he gave a cough. Emperor, you? Were you and the Empress just now being intimate? After he said this, Emo Chuan and Chen Ning's faces turned red. Ku. This time it was Emo Chuan's turn to cough. He couldn't help glaring at Dr. Zhang, thinking that this old doctor was peeking from outside the palace. How did he even know this? Dr. Zhang lowered his head and said, There is one more thing this old minister wants to remind you. Ku, within a month you can't be intimate with the Empress. Ku, especially that what? Ku, it's that nuptial chamber. Why can't I? Emo Chuan's brows knit together as he fiercely stared at Dr. Zhang. Was this old doctor becoming more and more muddled with age? Dr. Zhang coughed again. It's because the Empress' body doesn't allow it. It's all because the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng soup's effects are too overbearing. The Empress has a coldine body and eating this hot snow ginseng soup should be a great tonic, but the Empress has a coldine snake venom. It is only temporarily suppressed by the snow ginseng, so the Empress still needs a month to slowly absorb the snow ginseng's effects. If you and the Empress become intimate, the Empress' blood will boil and it will likely stimulate the snake venom in her body, causing it to act up again. At that time, even with the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng and 10,000-year-old poria, it would be hard. He shook his head before he finished, but Emo Chuan and Chen Ning understood what he meant. Chen Ning couldn't help glaring at Emo Chuan. It was all his fault just now. As soon as she opened her eyes, he kissed her like a hungry wolf, causing her body to feel like it was on fire. Emo Chuan was anxious and impatient as he grabbed Dr. Zhang's wrist. Dr. Zhang, take her pulse again. Perhaps you took the wrong pulse just now. Didn't you say that all the poison in her body had been cured? Why did it change again? Dr. Zhang saw his anxious red face and he couldn't help secretly laughing in his stomach, but he shook his head with a serious expression on his face. Does the Emperor doubt this old minister's medical skills? If the Emperor does not believe this old official, you can have the Tai of the Imperial Hospital take the Empress' pulse and see if their conclusion is the same as this old official's. This one trusts you the most in the doctor hospital. Dr. Zhang, there is no other way? Do we have to wait for a month? In this 1 month, if this one does not get intimate with her, will she be fine? Emo Chuan stared at Dr. Zhang's face. Don't worry. If this, then this I will. This is natural. As long as the Empress' heart is calm, she will definitely be safe. The Emperor can give the Empress some internal cultivation techniques for the Empress to practice, which will help her absorb the snow ginseng's medicinal properties. It's very likely that the Empress will benefit from the blessings and have some small success in her internal cultivation. Dr. Zhang thought about it and then added. Chapter 968. Alright, this one will listen to you. In this 1 month, this one will live in separate rooms with her and this one will teach her internal energy from tomorrow onwards. Dr. Zhang, it's been hard on you, you can go rest now. His eyes fell onto Dr. Zhang's shoeless feet and his lips slightly curled. After Dr. Zhang left, Emo Chuan turned around and looked into her dark and clear eyes. Seeing the sweat on her forehead, his heart filled with a sense of guilt. Ning, It's all because I couldn't control myself, that's why you're feeling this uncomfortable. Are you still very hot? Qin Ning shook her head with a smile. She could already feel the heat in her body that wanted to melt her slowly extinguish. I'm fine. Mo Chuan, do you want to live in separate rooms with me? Mo Chuan said in his heart, of course I'm not willing, but I can't ignore Dr. Zhang's words. He slowly nodded and said with a smile, it's just a month's time and we'll already be husband and wife. What, you don't even want to wait for a month? His voice was filled with a teasing tone. Qin Ning's face turned red and she said, Pei, it's clearly you who doesn't want to wait. You're right, I really don't want to wait. I've waited for this day for a long time and finally we can consummate our marriage, but I never thought it would be like this. Mo Chuan reached out and gently hugged her, but he quickly let go. He did not dare hug her for too long because once he hugged her soft body, his heart would become restless. Qin Ning's mind had already recovered. She remembered the scene before she fainted and the black and white snake that came out of the gift box. The snake's poisonous fangs had bitten her index finger. She instantly gave a cold shiver and raised her right hand. The bite marks on her finger had not disappeared, but the swollen bruise had returned to its original white and white color. Mo Chuan, I fainted after being bitten by the snake. What happened after that? Tell me, how did I get better so quickly? That snake's poison was clearly very strong and you gave me 1,000-year-old snow ginseng soup, right? But I remember that the snow ginseng was with Chu Xiaoyang and it was Chu Xiaoyang who saved me, right? Her mind turned very quickly and she immediately guessed it. Mo Chuan very slowly nodded. Although his heart was unwilling, he was not willing to lie to her. It was Chu Xiaoyang who saved you. He was the one who gave you that 1,000-year-old snow ginseng to save your life. He said that he saved you 8 years ago and today he will exchange his life for yours. From now on he doesn't owe you and you doesn't owe him. Mo Chuan repeated Chu Xiaoyang's words and then looked at her without blinking. He only said half of what he wanted to say. There were some things that he didn't want to say. This was because she had nothing to do with Chu Xiaoqin. Qin Ning was absent-minded for a moment. She softly said, a life for a life? Qin. Qin he was, he, too. She pressed her hand against her chest and felt a dull pain. She vaguely knew what it was, but she didn't want to think about it. Mo Chuan, there is something I don't understand. The gift box I opened was clearly a gift from the eldest princess, but how could the snake the eldest princess sent be poisonous? I don't believe that this matter was done by the eldest princess. Someone must have done something and this person wants to harm either you or me. Chapter 969. Mo Chuan looked at her with an indescribable admiration in his eyes. She was smarter than he had imagined. He nodded his head and said, that's right, someone did a deceitful substitution. And Lu didn't know that the person I married was you. She was angry that I married someone else, so she sent a snake into the palace. She knew that I was most afraid of snakes. However, the one she placed in the gift box was a black snake without its fangs and the one she sent into the palace was a highly venomous black and white snake. Qin Ning took in a cold breath and blurted out, this person must be someone by the eldest princess' side. Mo Chuan nodded in praise, that's right, I've already sent Yi Ting Xian to investigate this matter. Once there is any progress he will quickly send news over. Ning, are you afraid? He took a deep look at her. Afraid? Afraid of that snake? Of course I'm not afraid. Qin Ning shook her head and winked at Mo Chuan. With a mischievous smile she said, but when someone saw that snake, their face changed color and their body trembled in fear. He. Mo Chuan's face couldn't help turning red as he stubbornly said, nonsense, when did I tremble? It was clearly me who cut that snake in half. Did I say that you were trembling? You're confessing without being pressed. Her smile made her eyes turn into crescents and her lips curl into a small dimple. Seeing this he found it both funny and angry. He wanted to continue defending himself, but he was mesmerized by her smile, and an indescribable feeling welled up in his heart. He thanked the heavens for listening to his heart's prayers and finally returning her to him. Now he could see her laughing again and hear her teasing laughter. She lowered her head with a slightly red face under his passionate gaze. If he kept looking at her like this, she felt like she would be melted by him. They had already gone through the wedding ceremony and become his, but he still looked like he wanted to eat her up. Could it be that all men's minds were thinking about that? It was a good thing Dr. Zhang said that they couldn't have sex for a month, otherwise she would have been skinned by him already. Thinking of Dr. Zhang's pale white face when he said he would have to wait a month, Qin Ning couldn't help letting out a poochie laugh. You mischievous girl, you're laughing at me in your heart again, aren't you? When Emo Chuan saw her long eyelashes drooping and her eyes turning, he was both angry and in love at the same time. He lifted her chin and stared into her eyes, but she smiled without letting it go. Emo Chuan, tell me, why is a man like you afraid of a long worm? She teased him without fear because she was sure that he wouldn't do anything dangerous to her right now. He would treat Dr. Zhang's words as an imperial edict and wouldn't go against a single word. Emo Chuan gritted his teeth. If it was any other time, he would have already sealed her teasing mouth with his lips and punished her harshly. But now he didn't dare, so he could only stare at her with all his might. However, this little girl didn't seem to be afraid at all. She had already seen through him. It was precisely because she knew that he wouldn't dare to do anything to her that she dared to tease him like this. Ning, you better not provoke me again. Otherwise, in a month's time, I will make it so that you won't be able to get off the bed. I will, Ninger, I said. You. Me. I. Chapter 970. She was stunned. She bit her lips as she looked at Emo Chuan, not daring to believe that these words had actually come from his mouth. Just a few days ago in the farmer's family's wedding night, he was still innocent and ignorant. She never would have thought that in just a few short days, he would suddenly understand this much. She was more and more glad that she was poisoned, otherwise even her bones would have been eaten by him. Why aren't you saying anything? Do you know fear now? Where did your bravery from before go? Emo Chuan looked at her red face in amusement. He did not believe that he couldn't take care of this daring girl. Sure enough, a single sentence from him made her give up. I'm afraid of you, my lord husband. She turned her eyes and revealed a smile. Her laughter was as clear as a silver bell. Hearing her call him husband made his heart feel as sweet as honey. He lowered his eyes to look at the smile on her lips. His Adam's apple bobbed, and he almost pressed his lips against the smile on her lips. She immediately sensed his intention and hurriedly raised her hand to cover his lips. Don't. She was really afraid that he would kiss her without a care. He kissed her soft palm and her face turned red again. This action made it seem like she was purposely putting her hand to his lips for him to kiss. Emo Chuan pulled down her hand and tightly held it in his palm. His face was filled with a serious expression. Ning, you've just married me and you've already met this kind of danger, almost losing your life. Do you regret it? Do you regret marrying me? If I tell you that this kind of danger will happen again in the future and it will be even more dangerous, will you be afraid? Chen Ning finally understood what he meant when he asked her if she was afraid. She immediately shook her head without any hesitation and said, I'm not afraid. You're really not afraid? Emo Chuan looked into her eyes. This time it was a poisonous snake, next time it might be a poisonous arrow and it will be hard to defend against. At that time, there might not be a second snow ginseng to save your life and you might really die. Could it be you're not afraid of death? I'm not afraid because I know that if I die, you will accompany me, right? Even on the road to the underworld, I won't be alone. If I'm with you, what do I have to be afraid of? She revealed a faint smile as she remembered what he said before she fainted. He said, if you die, I won't live either. Why would I care about a trivial poison? At that time he had blurted it out without thinking, revealing his true feelings. It was because of this that her heart was filled with excitement and the snake venom acted, causing her to faint. Emo Chuan had the urge to kiss her again. The words she said always made his heart move. He finally restrained himself and looked at her with a serious expression. Do you want me to blame? Chapter 971. Emo Chuan instantly looked away from her in a bit of an embarrassed manner. Of course not. He would not admit that he had cried in front of her. Even if he didn't admit it, he couldn't hide it from her intelligent eyes and her exquisite heart. Her heart was moved and her eyes became slightly hot. She threw herself into his embrace and tightly hugged his waist. Emo Chuan, I didn't know anything after being unconscious, but seeing me like this, your heart must have felt bad. You must be 10 times more sad than me. Next time I won't make you worry like this. I'd rather be the one worried and sad. Emo Chuan stroked her hair with a faint smile. You little girl, you still have a bit of a conscience. But are you cursing me to be poisoned next time? He didn't want her to think about this, so he deliberately teased her. Chen Ning looked up and her eyes were covered in a layer of mist. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. If you die, I will die with you. You little girl, you really don't have a filter on your mouth, saying death as soon as you say it. Right now is our wedding night, we will grow old together, how could we die so easily? Emo Chuan pinched her nose in a punitive manner. Hearing the words wedding night, The two of them couldn't help looking at the dragon and phoenix wedding candles that were still burning, and their hearts skipped a beat. If it wasn't for the accident, they would have already. That's right, this is our wedding night. How can we waste this kind of auspicious night? She wrapped her arms around his neck and said in a soft voice, Mo Chuan, I don't want to live in separate rooms, I want to share a bed with you. Mo Chuan was shocked. No, Dr. Zhang said that we can't do this within a month. She smiled. I only said to share a bed, I didn't say to do that with you. With you? What are you thinking? His face instantly turned red as he stared at her. You little girl, if you keep teasing me, I won't care anymore. Chen Ning giggled and leaned into his embrace, closing her eyes. Mo Chuan, hug me to sleep for a bit, all right? Mo Chuan hesitated a bit before hugging her onto the large wedding bed. The two of them lay on the same pillow, facing each other, breathing in each other's breaths. Only the two of them were wearing red wedding clothes. The red candlelight shone on their faces, making them look bright and dark. You look at me and I look at you, the two of them smiled at each other. Sleep. Mo Chuan leaned over and kissed her face. He gently pulled her into his embrace and held her hand, feeling her warm body in his embrace. He thought that from now on he would be able to accompany her like this until their hair turned white. His lips curled into a smile and he closed his eyes. That night he was both mentally and physically exhausted. At this time his heart finally fell back into his stomach. Drowsiness washed over him and he quickly fell asleep. Because Chen Ning had slept for a long time, she was filled with energy. Adding in the fact that the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng was not a normal item, it was like a warm current flowing through her body. Although it was not as hot as fire, it still made her feel a sense of novelty. She pulled Mo Chuan to sleep, not because she wanted to sleep, but because she saw his bloodshot eyes and her heart ached for him. Hearing Mo Chuan's breathing become light and stable, she knew that he had fallen asleep. Chapter 972. Girl, why aren't you sleeping yet? What are you doing? Suddenly Mo Chuan opened his eyes and looked at her with a bit of annoyance. Chen Ning was shocked and complained, so you were pretending to be asleep. Her hands and feet trembled, not daring to move at all. Her hands and feet were all numb at this time. He revealed a faint smile. I really was asleep, but being stared at by you like this, even a wooden person would be woken up. There was something he was too embarrassed to say. Actually, with her in his embrace, how could he sleep soundly? Even if she didn't move, he could smell the sweet fragrance coming from her body in his dreams, so how could he not be moved? You're not sleeping, what are you thinking about? He pulled at her hair. Since she didn't want to sleep, he would accompany her to talk. Actually, even if he didn't say anything, just looking at her was good. Chen Ning's eyes turned. She was indeed thinking about something. Mo Chuan, do you think husband Yi will be able to find anything after going to the eldest princess palace? I don't know either. Mo Chuan shook his head, but no matter what, I won't let the person who poisoned you go. If I catch him, I will give the order to dismember him. He said through gritted teeth. Chen Ning said, I think husband Yi won't be able to find any clues. If you want to dismember him, you have to find the culprit first. You don't believe in Ting Xian's ability? As long as we can catch the girl who secretly swapped the snake, Ting Xian will definitely have a way to open her mouth. I'm afraid husband Yi will only find a dead person, and a dead person's mouth is the best at keeping secrets. She gave a faint sigh. Mo Chuan's pupils shrank. What do you mean? My meaning is very clear. Think about it, the girl that swapped the snake is definitely not the real culprit. At most, she was ordered by someone or bought by someone to do this. As for the real culprit, his thoughts are very clever, actually thinking of this kind of flawless method to harm others. No matter if the snake bit you or me, this matter will be related to the eldest princess. This plan of framing others and using someone else to kill others can be said to be very good. Since he could think of this method to harm others, how could he leave someone alive for others to investigate? Therefore, I guess that the result of Prince Consort Ye's investigation must have yielded nothing. As for that servant girl, she either escaped or died. After Mo Chuan heard this, his heart suddenly sank. He had high hopes for Yi Ting Xian, but hearing Chen Ning's words, he felt they were reasonable. Then we're just letting the real culprit escape like this? I'm just guessing. Perhaps husband Yi has already found the maid and has already asked the questions. Mo Chuan couldn't help shaking his head and saying, Ning, if it's really like you think, then he definitely won't be able to find anything. Mo Chuan couldn't help shaking his head and saying, Ning, if it really is as you expected, then he definitely won't be able to find anything. Mo Chuan couldn't help shaking his head and saying, Ning, if it's really like you think, then he definitely won't be able to find anything. Your Majesty, please forgive me. Prince Consort Yi has an urgent matter and requests to see the Emperor. Mo Chuan immediately stood up and looked at Chen Ning. He knew that Yi Tingxian had an urgent matter, so he didn't care about the time and rushed to the palace to report. Mo Chuan immediately stood up and looked at Chen Ning. He knew that Yi Tingxian had a result, so he didn't care about the time and went to the palace to report. But just like what Yi Tingxian said, once this servant girl died, they had no way to investigate. His face turned ashen and his hands clenched into fists. He had nowhere to vent the anger in his chest. She had already expected this matter. She knelt down beside the maid and carefully examined her. She carefully examined the maid's hands and finally opened the maid's mouth to take a look. She squatted down next to the maidservant and lowered her head to examine her carefully. She examined the maidservant's hands very carefully and finally pried open the maidservant's mouth to take a look. The people around them were all baffled by what they saw. Killed to silence her? The eldest princess looked at her in a daze and a chill ran down her back. Killed to silence her? The eldest princess looked at her in a daze and a chill ran down her back. Chapter 974. Empress, how can you see that she didn't drown herself in the lake? She was clearly fished out of the lake by us and we asked the coroner to examine the corpse. The coroner said that she drowned because there was mud in her mouth. Yi Tingxian was the first to recover and he couldn't help refuting. This is because the murderer who killed her is very smart. The mud was placed in her mouth on purpose, but the murderer forgot one thing. When a person is drowning, they will struggle. If she really drowned, not only would there be mud in her mouth, there would also be mud in her fingernails. But look at her 10 fingers, the gaps between her fingernails are completely clean. Chen Ning pointed at the maid's hand. Everyone looked over and found that it was exactly as she said. The maid's 10 fingers were spread out and there was not a single bit of mud in her fingernails. There is also another point. When a person is drowning, they will randomly grasp, and when they die, they will clench their fists and not spread out like this. So from these 2 points, we can conclude that this maid did not drown to death, but rather after she was killed, her body was thrown into the lake. The murderer could have already killed her, and after sinking the maid's body into the lake, he thought of a way to make her body float to the surface and let people find it. This way, everyone will think that she committed suicide and they won't be able to investigate it. Chen Ning said. After she said this, Zhui Feng couldn't help slapping his thigh and Xiaoxi nodded his head. Yi Tingxian looked at Chen Ning with a look of amazement. The eldest princess clapped and said, Ning, you really are too smart. The points you mentioned, this princess couldn't see it at all. Tingxian said that she committed suicide and this princess also thought that she committed suicide. You're still the smart one. Tingxian compared to Ning, you're simply a blockhead. Yi Tingxian's white face turned red and he lowered his head. He had thought that he was smart and careful enough. The mud in the maid's mouth was found by him before the coroner, so he had thought that the maid had committed suicide. He never thought that Chen Ning would find 2 suspicious points that he didn't even notice. Princess, you can't call her that like before. She is now the Empress, your royal sister-in-law. He reminded her in a small voice. The eldest princess disapprovingly said, she is my royal sister-in-law, I can also call her Ning. Ning, do you want me to call you royal sister-in-law or do you want me to call you Ninga like before? Chen Ning said with a faint smile, whatever the princess likes. Then I'll call you Ninga like before. Emperor, you wouldn't be angry at me because of this, right? The eldest princess looked at Mo Chuan. She was usually carefree, but in her heart, other than Yi Tingxian, the 2 people she cared about the most were Empress Dowager Zhou and Mo Chuan. Her heart was filled with guilt, not daring to talk to Mo Chuan, but not saying it in her heart made her feel very uncomfortable. She was very guilty and did not dare talk to Mo Chuan. Ning's heart, Mo Ting's Ning's Ning. Mo Chuan couldn't help glaring at her. And Lu, when you and Ting Xian get married, guess what gift this one will give you? There was a strong sense of threat in his tone. Even Ting Xian's manservant cannot take a step into this princess's residence. Eldest princess, think carefully. Is there really no one in your palace? For example, a young servant who has just been recruited into the mansion, a cook or a groom who feeds the horses. Before Chen Ning could finish, the eldest princess patted her head and interrupted her. Chapter 976. Horse Taming Expert? Yi Tingxian cut in, when did your palace have a horse taming expert? How come I didn't know about it? His words were filled with jealousy. When he heard the eldest princess say that this person was refined, his heart filled with discomfort. Other than him, the eldest princess had never looked at any other man. But the eldest princess did not notice his jealousy at all and just rolled her eyes at him. This princess has just hired a new horse groom. Does this kind of small matter need to be reported to you in detail? This princess hasn't married you yet, and you already want to control this princess's every move? Yi Tingxian said with a bitter smile. How would Tingxian have the guts to control the eldest princess matters? The eldest princess gave a snort and then said, this horse groom is young but his horse taming skills are amazing. That wild horse that no one dares approach quickly became docile under his hands and this princess was very happy. So I asked him if he was willing to raise horses for this princess and he happily agreed. This princess did not mistreat him and gave him a salary of 10 silver coins a month. This princess thought I found a treasure but I never thought that. She couldn't help stamping her feet. This princess will go to the palace to find this horse groom and ask him clearly. Eldest princess, please wait. If this matter is related to that horse groom, you won't be able to find him even if you go now. Ning pulled her back. I was only guessing, but hearing the eldest princess say that there really was a new horse groom, then this matter isn't far from the truth. Eldest princess, your eyes are very high and even you say that this horse groom looks refined and handsome, so his appearance shouldn't be inferior to husband Yes. Even if he is a horse groom with this kind of beauty, it's hard to not be moved by the maids in your palace. This maid is already 18 or 19 years old and has already begun to fall in love. As long as that horse groom teases her a bit, she will naturally be enchanted by him. If a girl is infatuated with a man, she wouldn't knit her brows even if she died for him. However, my guess is that she didn't mean to betray the princess. It's very likely that she accidentally mentioned this matter to her lover and was used by him, causing her to be killed. She gave a low sigh. Speaking of this, she is a pitiful infatuated person. If we really want to find the culprit, then the horse groom is the real culprit. Everyone present nodded. Mo Chuan immediately said, Tingxian, you and Enlu immediately returned to the palace to find that cart driver. There's no need to be afraid even if he really escapes. Enlu has seen his appearance before. Find someone to draw a picture of him and even if you flip the entire capital city, you have to find this person for this one. He paused before saying, there is another suspicious person. Chapter 977. Ning only knew that Yi Tingxian was Marquis Xian Wu's second son, but she didn't know anything else about Marquis Xian Wu. She saw that when the people present heard the name Marquis Xian Wu, they all turned into gourds with their mouths cut off. She secretly thought, there must be a story that I don't know about. But she knew that now wasn't the time to ask, so she continued to remain silent. Enlu is right, this matter has nothing to do with Marquis Xian Wu. Sending the horse could just be a coincidence. Even if Marquis Xian Wu didn't send the horse to Enlu, that horse groom would have other methods to enter the eldest princess palace. Mo Chuan was silent for a bit before saying this. Many thanks for the emperor's trust in my father. Yi Tingxian gave a deep bow to Mo Chuan. Marquis Xian Wu is very loyal, this one and mother trusts him the most, so how could we suspect him? Mo Chuan nodded to Yi Tingxian and said, if it wasn't for Marquis Xian Wu supporting mother and helping this one ascend the throne in the past, this one wouldn't have sat on the throne. Everyone can harm this one, but Marquis Xian Wu definitely won't. Tingxian, don't tell Marquis Xian Wu about this matter, otherwise he will overthink it. Yes, Emperor. Since it's like this, you can go find the horse groom's whereabouts. As long as you catch him, everything will be revealed. Mo Chuan said. Yi Tingxian agreed. When he was prepared to leave the palace with the eldest princess, Ning suddenly spoke up. Wait a minute, I suddenly thought of a method. Perhaps we can find the mastermind behind this matter. What method? Mo Chuan's mind instantly trembled as he looked at her without blinking. Yi Tingxian and the eldest princess also turned around. Ning looked outside the palace and Mo Chuan immediately understood her meaning. He said, Xiao Si, you and Jue Feng guard outside the palace, don't let anyone come close. Xiao Si and Jue Feng gave a sound of agreement. Although they were filled with curiosity and wanted to hear Ning's method, they didn't dare go against the emperor's orders. One of them guarded the roof and the other guarded the door. Ning, you can speak now. There is no one outside who can hear you. Ning nodded and asked Mo Chuan, I was bitten by a poisonous snake, how many people know about this? Other than the people here, there are also the eunuchs and maids in Guan Osprey Palace. However, I've already given strict orders that this matter can't be spread at all and it can't be passed to mother's ears. As for Enlu Palace. Mo Chuan looked at Yi Tingxian. Yi Tingxian immediately said, Emperor can be assured Tingxian has already told the eldest princess not to alert the enemy. When the eldest princess went back to the palace to find that maid, she only said that something important had been lost in the palace. Perhaps that maid stole it, but she didn't reveal any other information. He paused and then said, "That's right, King Dingyuan also knows about this. Others can't say it, but it's hard to guarantee that King Dingyuan won't spread this matter. There is also Dr. Zhang. I don't know if Dr. Zhang will." He hesitated. "You knows what should be said and what should not be said, disbelieve him believe." Yeah. Ting Tian Ting Chuan Mo Tian said. "This means that this news hasn't been spread out and not many people know about it, right?" Qin Ning's eyes turned. Mo Chuan nodded, "That's right." "Then, the matter of me drinking the snow ginseng soup to cure the snake's poison, the mastermind behind the scenes, he definitely doesn't know?" she said. Chapter 978. Qin Ning's eyes lit up and she clapped her hands, letting out a crisp sound. "Very good, then we'll beat them at their own game. We'll beat the grass and scare the snake, luring the snake out of its hole." "How do we beat them at their own game and lure the snake out of its hole?" the eldest princess impatiently asked. Although Yi Tingxian did not say anything, his mind began to move. He had already vaguely guessed Qin Ning's intentions. Mo Chuan revealed a faint smile and looked at her with eyes of praise. When she opened her mouth, he understood her thoughts. This feeling of being connected made his heart feel very comfortable. The eldest princess pulled Qin Ning's hand and urged her, "Speak clearly. How do you want to find the real culprit behind this? Do you want to make this matter known to everyone?" Qin Ning said with a nod, "That's right. Husband Ye's previous idea was not to beat the grass and scare the snake, but my method is the exact opposite. I want to beat the grass and scare the snake. Only by beating the grass will we be able to scare the snake hiding in the grass and have it come out of its hole. There aren't many people who know that I was bitten by a poisonous snake, and I believe that the real culprit behind this doesn't know either. If the news that I was bitten by the eldest princess on my wedding night and my life is in danger were to spread, the emperor would angrily throw the eldest princess into prison. When the culprit hears this news, do you think he would be so happy that he wouldn't be able to close his mouth? This is because he has killed 2 birds with 1 stone and successfully framed me. His plan has succeeded, so he will be proud of himself. Once a person is proud, they will reveal some flaws. What do you think the real culprit will do next?" She looked at the 3 people around her. The 3 of them shook their heads. "I can't guess it. Ning, quickly tell me, what will the culprit do?" The eldest princess broke out in a cold sweat hearing this. Her hand holding Qin Ning was also covered in sweat, feeling nervous and worried. Qin Ning said with a faint smile, "He has done such a proud thing, so of course he will personally see the results of his victory. Even if he doesn't personally appear, he will still send someone. My guess is that this person's identity is not normal and that horse groom is just a chess piece in his hands. If he can send someone into the eldest princess palace to do this, it means he knows the royal family like the back of his hand. If he can send someone into the eldest princess palace, then he can definitely send someone into the royal palace. So what we need to do is open a large net and wait for the big fish to fall into it." After she said this, she saw that the 3 people in the room were all silent and were looking at her with strange gazes. "Did I say something wrong? Or do you think my idea isn't good?" She felt that the plan she came up with was perfect and there were almost no flaws. The eldest princess shook her head and she couldn't say anything, because Qin Ning's method had completely shocked her. She had always thought that Yi Tingxian was the smartest person she knew, but Qin Ning had completely changed her mind. "Ning, use mine. Compared to you, my brain is like a pig's." The eldest princess patted her head in annoyance. Qin Ning couldn't help laughing. Mo Chuan also couldn't help revealing a smile. "Tingxian, do you think Ning'er's method will work?" Yi Tingxian sincerely said, "Emperor, the Empress method is very good." Tingxian is ashamed. Chapter 979. Empress Dowager Zhou felt her right eyelid twitch when she woke up. When Su Jin came in to help her wash up, her expression was strange and her eyes were evasive, which made Empress Dowager Zhou immediately notice something strange. "Su Jin, did something happen? Tell this widow, did something happen to the emperor?" Empress Dowager Zhou's voice suddenly rose. No, it's not something happened to the emperor, it's..." Su Jin gritted her teeth and finally said the news she had just heard. "It's something happened to the Empress." "Empress? What happened to her?" Empress Dowager Zhou's heart was only half at ease, while the other half was still in her throat. Su Jin kneeled down and reported in a choked voice, "This servant has just received news. It said that last night, the Empress was bitten by a poisonous snake in the bridal room and is currently unconscious. Perhaps Perhaps her life is in danger. When she had just heard this news, her 3 souls had disappeared from her body. Her hands were numb and she couldn't recover for a long time. Empress Dowager Zhou didn't know that the Empress was Qin Ning, but she knew. She had been worried all night, worried that the paper wouldn't cover the fire. When Empress Dowager Zhou found out that the Empress was Qin Ning, she would be enraged and she didn't know how she would deal with her. Who would have thought that after waiting all night before Empress Dowager Zhou found out the truth, she would hear this kind of heartbreaking news? She couldn't help feeling sad for Qin Ning. Such a good girl, finally becoming husband and wife with the Emperor after experiencing so many twists and turns, but before they even finished the bridal room, her life and death were already unknown. This was hard for her to accept. What? It was like Empress Dowager Zhou had been hit in the head and was stunned. She didn't even notice the prayer beads in her hand falling to the ground. Say it again, what happened to the Empress? She grabbed Su Jin's wrist and said in a trembling voice. The Empress was bitten by a snake. Dr. Zhang has already checked the Empress and said that the snake venom is very strong. I'm afraid she can't be saved. After Su Jin said this, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears fell from her eyes and she began to sob in a low voice. Can't be saved? Then what about the Emperor? Is the Emperor all right? Was he bitten by a poisonous snake? The Emperor is fine, only the Empress was bitten by a snake. Hearing this, Empress Dowager Zhou slowly let go of her wrist. She stood up and her 2 faint brows knit together. She only felt shocked but not sad. After all, she only had a good impression and appreciation of the girl her son had just married. There was no deep friendship between them. How could there be a poisonous snake in the bridal room? Could it be that the eunuchs and palace maids in the Emperor's palace were all dead? Chapter 980. Nonsense. How could this be possible, and Lu and the Emperor have a deep sibling relationship? How could she do this kind of ridiculous thing? There must be a mistake. Su Jin, immediately investigate this matter for this widow. Empress Dowager Zhou was filled with anger as she forcefully slammed the table. Su Jin's body trembled and she looked down, kneeling on the ground without moving. Empress Dowager, this matter has been investigated and it was indeed done by the eldest princess. I heard that the eldest princess was angry that the Emperor married the Empress, so she placed a poisonous snake in the congratulatory gift box. She wanted to scare the Emperor and the Empress, but she never thought that the poisonous snake would bite the Empress. After the Emperor investigated this matter, he was filled with rage and has already given the order to capture the eldest princess. The eldest princess has confessed, saying that she was just playing a prank and didn't mean to harm the Emperor and Empress. The Emperor has already locked the eldest princess in the heavenly prison, waiting to be dealt with. Even though Empress Dowager Zhou had experienced countless storms and changes in her life, her heart couldn't help trembling when she heard this news. Her body slightly swayed and she couldn't stand still. Su Jin didn't care about anything else as she quickly crawled up from the ground and supported Empress Dowager Zhou. She said in a worried voice, Empress Dowager. She supported Empress Dowager Zhou back to her chair and patted her back. After a while, Empress Dowager Zhou came back to her senses and let out a sigh of relief. Su Jin, what you said just now, was it all true? Her eyes looked at Su Jin and her voice was weak. This servant's words are all true. I definitely wouldn't dare lie to the Empress Dowager. But how is this possible? How could Enlu do this kind of stupid thing? This widow doesn't believe it, this is impossible. Empress Dowager Zhou angrily slammed the table again and suddenly stood up. You said Enlu is locked in the heavenly prison? This widow wants to personally ask Enlu. I want to clarify this face to face. She held Su Jin's hand and impatiently walked out. Empress Dowager, the Emperor has given the order that no one can visit the eldest princess. I'm afraid you won't be able to see her even if you go. Su Jin said in a small voice. This widow is the Empress Dowager and Enlu is this widow's child. Others can't see her, but can't this widow see her? Empress Dowager Zhou gave a cold laugh. Empress Dowager, please calm your anger. This servant feels that you should first ask the Emperor about this matter. Su Jin saw Empress Dowager Zhou's heart filled with anger and of her of speaking incoherently, so she couldn't help reminding her. Empress Dowager Zhou was reminded by her words and stopped moving. She felt like her forehead was about to split open and her heart was beating fast. She nodded. Su Jin, you're right. Ijia should go ask His Majesty first. Also, Ijia has to go visit the new Empress in Guan Osprey Palace. Su Jin's heart tightened but she couldn't stop him. Yes, this servant will immediately send someone to prepare the imperial sedan. Empress Dowager Zhou had been in charge of the harem for many years, so she was only shocked for a bit before quickly calming down. When she sat in the sedan, there was nothing strange about her. She Lu of. She and she of quickly of Jean Lu Zhou. She of B she of Lu. She and. Because there was no sound of crying, it meant that the new empress was still there. Chapter 981. Xiaoxi, come here. Empress Dowager Zhou said in a deep voice. Xiaoxi looked up to see Empress Dowager Zhou and was shocked. He quickly kneeled down. Greetings to the Empress Dowager. Ever since he had been beaten by Empress Dowager Zhou, he would tremble whenever he saw Empress Dowager Zhou and his butt would ache. Where is the emperor? Empress Dowager Zhou asked. Reporting to the Empress Dowager, the emperor has been in his bedroom and has not come out because Dr. Zhang said that the empress might not be able to make it. Xiaoxi replied with a lowered head. Empress Dowager Zhou's body slightly swayed. She held Su Jin's hand and calmed herself down before walking into the bedroom. She suddenly heard Mo Chuan's angry voice coming from the room. Xiaoxi, what are you sneaking around for? Didn't this one tell you to find the best doctor in the capital? Where is he? Xiaoxi was shocked and said in a small voice, Emperor, the best doctor in the capital is Dr. Zhang. With Dr. Zhang here, is there a need to find another doctor? Idiot, good for nothing, you've never done a single thing I've asked you to do properly. Quickly go find a doctor. Call all the doctors in the doctor yard over and also bring all the doctors in the capital to the palace. If they can't take care of the empress, this one will take their lives. Empress Dowager Zhou was stunned. She did not dare believe that this irritable voice came from her cold as ice son. From the looks of it, her son really liked the girl he had just married. He was actually so angry because of her. As his mother, she was a little jealous. Xiaoxi gave a submissive reply before leaving. Emperor, how is the empress? This widow has just heard of this matter. With Dr. Zhang here, you don't need to be this angry. Even if you kill all the doctors in the capital, can you save the empress? Empress Dowager Zhou walked through the door and the smell of medicine filled her nose. There was not only Mo Chuan in the room, there was also Dr. Zhang. There was a thick veil hanging over the bed and one could vaguely see a person lying in the veil. A white as snow wrist was outside the veil and Dr. Zhang was currently taking her pulse. Mo Chuan was standing in front of the bed, staring at the person in the veil without blinking. There was a look of worry on his face that was filled with emotions. Empress Dowager Zhou's heart was shocked. Other than the Qin family's girl, she had never seen her son care about another girl like this. Your son greets mother. Hearing Empress Dowager Zhou enter, Mo Chuan turned around and bowed to Empress Dowager Zhou. Greetings to the Empress Dowager. Dr. Zhang also trembled as he stood up to give a bow. No need to be so polite, this widow is here to see the empress. Empress Dowager Zhou walked over to the bed and looked into the curtains. With just a glance, she was shocked, almost not daring to believe that the person she was looking at was the girl she had chosen for her son. He saw that the face of the girl on the bed was completely black. The birthmark that originally took up most of her face had turned deep purple, making her look even more terrifying. She lay motionless on the bed, lifeless. Even if Empress Dowager Zhou didn't understand medicine, she could see that this girl wasn't breathing in much and wasn't breathing out much. She wouldn't last much longer. Dowager Zhou said. Su Jin's body trembled as tears streamed down her cheeks. She forced herself not to cry out loud. Dr. Zhang, the empress poison. Is there any hope of curing it? Empress Dowager Zhou knew that it was useless to ask, but she still had to ask. Chapter 982. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a low sigh. She looked at Chen Ning on the bed again. There was only sympathy in her eyes, but there was no sadness at all. Pitiful child, this widow appreciates your talent, so I chose you as the empress. It's a pity that you are unlucky actually getting married and... She shook her head again and did not finish. Mo Chuan's hands clenched as he stared at Empress Dowager Zhou without blinking. Mother, what do you mean? Are you blaming her for being unlucky and not being able to take the position of empress so she suffered this disaster? He said in a sharp voice. Empress Dowager Zhou was not angry. She took his hand in a comforting manner and patted the back of his hand. Emperor, mother is not a cold-blooded person. This widow is just feeling sorry for her. Mo Chuan said in a cold voice. Sorry? If it wasn't for mother giving birth to a good daughter, how could your son's empress become like this? Empress Dowager Zhou's hand slightly trembled. She looked up and said, Emperor, have you investigated this matter clearly? Was it really done by Enlu? Your son has already investigated everything and Enlu has already admitted it. What, mother didn't come here today to visit your son's empress, but to exonerate Enlil? Emo Chuan's voice was a bit unkind. Empress Dowager Zhou's heart was a bit angry, but she didn't show it on her face at all. Emperor, do you think mother is a person who can't distinguish between public and private matters? If this matter was really done by Enlil, this widow will not protect her, but if it wasn't done by her, this widow does not want her to be a scapegoat. Emo Chuan's expression changed, but he did not say anything. Empress Dowager Zhou then said, "This widow is the daughter I gave birth to. This widow is very clear on her personality. If it's talking about fighting, she's the best, but if it's talking about using this kind of method to hurt people, she would never do it with her personality. Your son didn't want to believe that this matter was done by Enlil, but when it happened, your son was by the Empress side, so your son clearly saw it. If mother doesn't believe me, please look here." Emo Chuan did not explain and walked over to the table to the side to pick up a red gift box. He placed it in front of Empress Dowager Zhou and slowly opened the box. Empress Dowager Zhou and Su Jin looked into the box and saw a thick white snake with a black base. The snake's head and body had already been separated, and the fierce-looking snake head revealed its fangs, scaring the two of them into a cold sweat. This. Even though Empress Dowager Zhou had experienced many storms, when she saw this snake, she still felt her tongue go numb. Imperial Mother, you can take a closer look. This gift box came from Enli's residence. I saw this poisonous snake crawl out of the gift box with my own eyes and bite her right hand. Empress Dowager Zhou said. Dowager and said, "Ning ling ling ling." Dowager Ling said, "Ling." Although Empress Dowager Zhou was his birth mother and he listened to Empress Dowager Zhou, his filial piety was not foolishly filial. When this matter happened, Yi Tingxian suspected that it was done by Empress Dowager Zhou. Emo Chuan also had this suspicion in his heart, but as a son he couldn't say it out loud. Chen Ning's suggestion of beating the grass to scare the snake was exactly what he wanted. But he was worried that the one startled would be Empress Dowager Zhou, this large snake, that he didn't want to believe at all. Chapter 983. Empress Dowager Zhou was faced with this evidence. Even if she believed that this was not done by her daughter, she couldn't find any words to refute it. "Your Majesty, I wish to see Enlil and personally ask her about this matter." Emo Chuan immediately refused. "Enlil poisoned the Empress, your son has already sent people to send her to the death row. If the Empress is not dead, please forgive your son for being heartless, your son will take her life." What? Empress Dowager Zhou was so shocked that she almost couldn't stand. She stared at Emo Chuan and said in a voice filled with disbelief, "You? Say that again? You want to kill Enlil? How could you be so cruel? She is your blood-related little sister." "Mother, the one lying on this bed is her royal sister-in-law. She can be so cruel as to harm her royal sister-in-law, so why can't your son kill her? Not to mention that when she sent the poisonous snake into the palace, if it wasn't for the Empress opening the box for your son, then the one lying on this bed would be your son. Mother, if it was your son who was poisoned, would you still say that this matter has nothing to do with Enlil? Would you still try to get Enlil out of this crime?" Emo Chuan's questioning left Empress Dowager Zhou speechless. He wanted to make this play as realistic as possible. Only by making Empress Dowager Zhou believe him could he carry out his plan. "Mother, your son has a request." "What is it?" "Dr. Zhang said that the Empress poison is very strange and there is no medicine in the palace that can cure it, but there might be medicine hidden in the palaces of the ministers. Your son wants to ask Mother to send a decree to have them enter the palace to offer medicine. If they can cure the Empress poison, your son will heavily reward them. If the Empress can really be saved, then your son will spare Enli's life." Empress Dowager Zhou's eyes instantly lit up. "Emperor, will you keep your word? If the Empress is saved, you will let Enli go?" "Mother, your son is the ruler of a country, his words carry weight. Could it be that Mother is afraid your son will go back on his word? All right, then this widow will immediately return to the palace to give the decree. Su Jin, stay here and help this widow take care of the Empress. If there is anything, immediately send someone to report to this widow." Empress Dowager Zhou thought about it and said, "Yes, Empress Dowager." Su Jin was worried about Chen Ning and couldn't wait to stay. "No need. Aunt Su Jin, you should accompany Mother back to the palace. This one does not want anyone to disturb the Empress." Emo Chuan's face was as dark as water. It wasn't that he didn't believe Su Jin, but the truth, the less people knew, the better. Empress Dowager Zhou was met with a soft rebuff and her face was a bit embarrassed. "All right, since it's like this, Ijia will go send the decree. Emperor, the Empress is so young and the heavens will protect her." You don't have to worry too much and take care of your body. She saw that her son's eyes were completely bloodshot and her heart couldn't help but ache. Your son thanks mother's concern. I'll respectfully send off mother. Mo Chuan's etiquette was not lost, but his expression was very faint. Empress Dowager Mother, Dowager. Qin give a sigh. Dowager sues this. She could feel her son's dissatisfaction towards her. Because she cared too much about her daughter, she seemed slightly cold and heartless towards the Empress. But her son and daughter were the flesh that fell from her body. How could she treat her daughter and daughter-in-law equally? Chapter 984. In order to make this scene flawless, naturally they needed Dr. Zhang's cooperation. This was because Empress Dowager Zhou trusted Dr. Zhang the most. She never would have thought that Dr. Zhang would collude with Mo Chuan and the others to put on a show, so she immediately believed it. Dr. Zhang said, "This old minister only hopes to catch the culprit as soon as possible. There is nothing else I want." Mo Chuan nodded. "Ning, do you think mother?" He looked at Chen Ning wanting to say something but hesitating. Although he didn't finish, Chen Ning already guessed what he wanted to ask. She immediately shook her head and said, "This matter has nothing to do with the Empress Dowager, she doesn't know anything at all." She had seen Empress Dowager Zhou's reaction in the mosquito net. Empress Dowager Zhou only looked at her and asked a single question. Her mind was completely focused on the eldest princess in the death row prison. Mo Chuan saw this and naturally felt a bit of resentment towards Empress Dowager Zhou, but Chen Ning wasn't angry. She and Empress Dowager Zhou didn't have any relationship to begin with. According to common sense, Empress Dowager Zhou should be more concerned about her own daughter. This was understandable. Hearing Chen Ning's words, Mo Chuan let out a sigh of relief. He was most worried that this matter was arranged by Empress Dowager Zhou. What should we do now? He then asked. Wait. Chen Ning blinked. The Empress Dowager will issue a decree after returning to the palace. Let's just quietly wait for the news. The news quickly spread throughout the capital city. The Empress had been poisoned on their wedding night and her life was in danger. The Empress Dowager had issued a decree that anyone who had an antidote could enter the palace. If they could save the Empress' life, they would be heavily rewarded. This news was like a boulder thrown into a calm lake, stirring up huge waves all of a sudden. The civil and military officials were all in an uproar. Just the day before, they had been drinking the Emperor and Empress wedding wine. No one would have thought that they would hear this kind of bad news the next day. Therefore, the ministers began to rummage through their chests to find their life-saving pills. This was because this was a good chance to please the Emperor and Empress and increase their rank, so no one wanted to miss it. There was a lot of traffic outside the palace, making it very lively. Because the one injured was the Empress, it wasn't convenient for the ministers to enter the palace. They arranged for their families to enter the palace and visit the Empress. Only these families were all blocked outside the palace, not even to see a single hair of the Empress. They could only hear the Emperor's cold voice coming from the palace, telling everyone to wait outside. This time the family members brought all kinds of elixirs. There were ointments, powders, pills and soups. All of them were placed in brocade boxes. This time Shaoxi did not dare to be careless. He personally opened each box and inspected it carefully. After finding nothing strange, he sent it to the Emperor in his bedroom. Ning, Dr. Zhang, is there anything wrong with the medicine that has been sent? Mo Chuan had Shaoxi spread out the medicine boxes and placed them on the table, letting Chen Ning and Dr. Zhang look over them. He did not understand medicine, so he could not tell if the medicine was poisonous or not, but since this was Chen Ning's idea, she must have a deeper meaning. Chapter 985. Dr. Zhang looked at the rare herbs and couldn't help praising them. As a good doctor, just having medical skills was far from enough. If there were no good herbs, no matter how good one's medical skills were, there was nothing they could do. So when he saw these good herbs that he normally couldn't see, his eyes lit up. He held the box and looked like he couldn't bear to let it go. Mo Chuan said with a faint smile, Dr. Zhang, if you see any useful herbs, just take them. With these herbs in your hands, you will definitely be able to use them to save more people and cure more difficult illnesses. Dr. Zhang was filled with joy as he excitedly said, Many thanks to the Emperor. Mo Chuan looked at Chen Ning. Ning, do you see anything? Although Chen Ning didn't understand medicine, she had the shapes and effects of various herbs in her memory palace. Comparing it to the real thing, she already had an idea of what it was. She looked even more carefully than Dr. Zhang. These pills all had their ingredients and uses written on them, but they didn't have much use for detoxification. Until her eyes fell onto a stalk of dark black grass, She gave a soft "ee" sound. What kind of grass is this? Ning moved closer to the box and sniffed it. She could smell a fishy stench coming from it. Empress, be careful, don't touch it no matter what. This is netherworld grass, it's highly poisonous. Dr. Zhang's expression changed as he quickly shouted out. Hearing that it was poisonous, Mo Chuan's pupils instantly shrank. He immediately grabbed Ning's hand and pulled her back. At the same time he slapped the box to the ground with his right palm and the dark black grass fell out of the box. Xiaoxi, go see who sent this box over. Mo Chuan said in a sharp voice. Ning raised her hand to stop his and smiled at him. Mo Chuan, don't change your expression when you hear poison. Some poisons can harm people but some poisons can save people. She turned to look at Dr. Zhang. If my guesses aren't wrong, although this netherworld grass is highly poisonous, it should be a good detoxification medicine, right? Dr. Zhang came back to his senses and walked over to wrap his hand with a cloth. He carefully picked up the netherworld grass and looked it over in front of him. Yes, the Empress is right. This netherworld grass usually grows in places that are dark and damp. It can't stand the slightest bit of sunlight. As long as the sunlight shines on its leaves, it will immediately wither and turn to dust. That's why it's called netherworld grass. However, the place where it grows just happens to be where snakes like to live. So, the medical books say that the poison it contains is coincidentally the best antidote for snake venom. This is also the wondrous effect of using poison to fight poison. Antidote for snake venom? Ning's eyes instantly lit up. She immediately looked up at Mo Chuan. The Empress Dowager's decree said that I was poisoned, but it didn't say it was snake poison. This netherworld grass itself is very poisonous, but it is a wonderful antidote for snake poison. Although I'm not sure if it can cure the black flower snake's poison, if the person who sent the medicine didn't know that I was poisoned, they wouldn't have sent this poisonous grass into the palace no matter what. Mo Chuan, don't you think this matter is a bit too coincidental? Mo Chuan's eyes sparkled and he said in a deep voice, that's right, it really is a coincidence. The person who sent the medicine is most likely the culprit. Ning then said in a deep voice, if it really is the culprit, why would he send the right antidote to the palace? His intention should be to harm people and not to save people, right? Chapter 986. Dr. Zhang also nodded in agreement and said, the Empress is right. If this netherworld grass really can cure the snake poison, then the person who sent it must have good intentions and not be the culprit. After the two of them said this, Mo Chuan couldn't make up his mind. Little Four, go take a look. Which official's family sent this medicine box? Reporting to the Emperor, it's the guard of the city gates, he Shou Zheng. Xiaoxi looked at the name card on the box and couldn't help feeling surprised. Hearing this, Mo Chuan also revealed a look of surprise. This Shou Zheng was just a small official responsible for guarding the palace gates. He was a 7th grade official and didn't have any status in the court. It was completely different from Ning's expectations of the culprit. It can't be him. Mo Chuan couldn't help shaking his head. A small city gate official, how could he have the courage to harm the Emperor and Empress? Even if he succeeded, what good would it do him? Ning's eyes lit up as she said, it's just a small city gate official. If he wasn't confident that the thing he sent could cure my poison, he would not send a poisonous grass into the palace. I think this person is very suspicious. He is not the real culprit, but he is a chess piece for the culprit. Ning's eyes lit up as she said, you can't be the culprit, but you can be the culprit's chess piece. Ning, what do you mean? Mo Chuan couldn't understand the meaning behind her words. Didn't the real culprit want to kill people? Why would he want to save people? If this Shou Zheng isn't the real culprit, could it be that the real culprit is someone else? Ning let out a sigh and said, this culprit is very cunning, he's even smarter than I thought. I wanted to beat the grass to scare the snake and lure the snake out of its hole, but he already expected this move, so he took advantage of the situation and pushed a small city gate official to test our attitude. This netherworld grass seems like it really is the antidote for my snake poison. He doesn't want to save me but rather wants to make this matter flawless. He will continue to hide behind the scenes, making it impossible for us to find his foxtail. Ning sighed and said, this murderer is very cunning, he is even smarter than I thought. A cold glow flashed in Mo Chuan's eyes and he said in a hateful voice, if it's like this, wouldn't we have wasted our time? This culprit is very sly. We haven't wasted our time. Since this Shou Zheng can be used by him, naturally he can be used by us. Why don't we beat him at his own game, casting a long line to catch a big fish? Ning said with a smile. Ning, how do you think we should beat him at his own game? Mo Chuan saw her narrowing her eyes and knew that her idea had popped out again. He Shou Zheng's eyes were filled with admiration and laughter. You can send Zhuai Feng to investigate this matter. He is the best hidden guard by your side, coming and going without a trace. Let him follow beside He Shou Zheng and see what kind of people He Shou Zheng has been interacting with recently. If there are any strange movements, we can follow the clues and find the person hiding in the shadows. Good. It really is a good trick. Mo Chuan couldn't help pinching her nose with a smile. Were you a fox in your previous life? Chin to be Ning, Chin, is Chin Chin. Chin Ning giggled and then said, you also need to write an imperial edict to greatly reward this He Shou Zheng, giving him a large official position. This way the real culprit's suspicions won't be aroused. Alright, then this one will immediately write an imperial edict. Shall see grind the ink. Mo Chuan immediately picked up the brush and wrote an imperial edict. Chapter 987. This He Shou Zheng had leapt over the Dragon Gate in a single night, going from 7th grade to 5th grade and becoming the vice commander of the Royal Army. He was so happy that it felt like he was dreaming, unable to close his mouth. In the past, when he was guarding the city gates, everyone had to bow to him. Now that he was the deputy commander of the Imperial Guards, everyone had to respectfully greet him. Deputy Commander He had just been promoted, so he kept receiving invitations every day. Other than when he was on duty, there were banquets almost every day. Zhuai Feng had followed Mo Chuan's orders and had been secretly following him. Then he reported to Mo Chuan and Chen Ning what he had seen and what he had said to them every day. After following him like this for 2 days, he didn't find anything strange. Chen Ning was not in a rush and told Zhuai Feng to patiently follow him. She believed that when they met again during the holidays, that big fish would not be able to hold back and would stir up a storm again. At that time she would definitely be able to catch him. At this time, there was quite a bit of disturbance in the royal palace. The so-called paper can't wrap fire. Chen Ning already knew that she couldn't hide her identity from Empress Dowager Zhou for long. The calm days only lasted for 3 days before the day of the Empress coronation ceremony arrived. According to tradition, the coronation ceremony would be held the day after the Emperor and Empress wedding, but because of the accident in the nuptial chamber, the coronation ceremony had been postponed for 3 days. On the eve of the coronation ceremony, Empress Dowager Zhou sent Su Jin to fetch the royal family's genealogy because the coronation was tomorrow. She found that she didn't know the Empress' name or family background. She looked through the royal family's genealogy and finally found this secret. She stared at the 2 words on the genealogy and almost didn't dare believe her eyes. She couldn't help rubbing them and looking at them again. She found that it was still the same 2 words, Chen Ning. These 2 words were personally added by Mo Chuan. That elegant and familiar word, how could Empress Dowager Zhou not recognize it? Su Jin. Empress Dowager Zhou's eyes swept over her. Tell this widow what is the name of the emperor's new empress. Su Jin had already expected this moment when she fetched the genealogy. Seeing Empress Dowager Zhou's question, she looked down and replied in a low voice, reporting to the Empress Dowager, the empress name is Chen Ning. Good. Even a little girl like you is colluding with them to deceive this widow. Su Jin, this widow really cared for you for nothing. Empress Dowager Zhou angrily smashed the cup. Su Jin quickly knelt down. Empress Dowager, please calm your anger. This servant didn't mean to deceive Empress Dowager. You didn't mean it? Then you already knew. Speak, when did you know that the empress the emperor wanted to marry was that girl surnamed Chen? Empress Dowager Zhou angrily said. This servant knew about it before your majesty's wedding. Su Jin knew that she couldn't hide it, so she reported everything to Empress Dowager Zhou. After she finished, she kept kowtowing to the empress. Empress Dowager, this matter is all this servant's fault. This servant lied to the Empress Dowager and didn't tell the Empress Dowager that the bride was Miss Chen because this servant didn't have the heart to separate them. The Emperor and Miss Chen have deep feelings for each other and it wasn't easy for them to be together. I beg the Empress Dowager to help them. Chapter 988. As long as the Empress Dowager helps the Emperor and Empress, even if you beat this servant to death, this servant will die without regrets. Su Jin said in a low voice. Su Jin, this widow really cared for you for nothing. You've been by this widow's side for so many years, but you still don't understand this widow's heart. You've betrayed this widow's trust in you. Empress Dowager Zhou said in a pained voice. Although she raised her cane, she couldn't bear to keep hitting her. Su Jin couldn't help crying. She took 2 steps forward and hugged Empress Dowager Zhou's leg as she said while crying, "This servant knows her wrongs, but this servant really doesn't want to separate this pair of lovers. Empress Dowager, the Emperor is your son. Could it be you have the heart to see him be unhappy for the rest of his life? Could it be that letting him be condemned by everyone and laughed at by the world will make him happy? Do you know that if he marries that girl from the Qin family, how much ridicule and blame will he have to bear? If the ministers knew that the empress he married was his nephew's princess, he wouldn't be able to raise his head for the rest of his life. He can forget about sitting on the emperor's throne. You only want to help them be lovers, but have you never thought about helping this widow and the emperor?" Empress Dowager Zhou pointed at Su Jin in disappointment. "This widow's normal words to you are all useless. Do you know that doing this you are not doing it for his good, you are harming the emperor?" Su Jin's face turned white and her body trembled as she said in a trembling voice, "This servant didn't think that much, this servant just feels that they are too pitiful. Don't say any more, immediately call the emperor over for this widow." Empress Dowager Zhou forcefully slammed her dragon-headed cane. "Empress Dowager, you want to?" Su Jin bit her lips as she looked at Empress Dowager Zhou. This widow wants him to divorce his wife. If he doesn't divorce that girl, this widow will die in front of him. Empress Dowager Zhou angrily said. When her voice fell, she heard a firm and clear voice from outside the door. "Mother, your son will definitely not divorce his wife." With this voice, the 2 doors were pushed open and Emo Chuan's tall figure appeared in front of Empress Dowager Zhou and Su Jin. When Empress Dowager Zhou sent people to get the genealogy records, Emo Chuan knew that he couldn't hide this matter. He didn't want to hide it anymore, so he went to the Peaceful Life Palace and heard Empress Dowager Zhou and Su Jin's conversation outside. "Emperor, you've come at the right time. Let me ask you, you've deceived the heavens and the earth. You've deceived me well." When Empress Dowager Zhou saw Emo Chuan, she was filled with anger. She stood up and raised her cane to hit Emo Chuan's face. She was angry that her son actually used this kind of method of acting first and reporting later. He even hid it from her, his mother. Rather than anger, it was more of sadness. Emo Chuan stood straight. He did not circulate his internal energy to resist, allowing Empress Dowager Zhou's cane to hit him again and again. Empress Dowager Zhou was truly enraged, not showing any mercy. After a few strikes, there were several bloody marks on Emo Chuan's body. "Empress Dowager, please be lenient." Su Jin's heart was beating fast and she couldn't help pleading for Emo Chuan. You're angering this widow to death." Empress Dowager Zhou forcefully threw the cane on the ground and fell into a chair. She still loved her son. These cane hits on Emo Chuan's body made her heart hurt even more than Emo Chuan's. Chapter 989. Empress Dowager Zhou took a deep breath and made her decision. "Very good, if you don't divorce your wife, then this widow will die in front of you. Su Jin, bring the poison wine." Empress Dowager. Su Jin's face turned white in fear as she spoke in a trembling voice. "Quickly go." Empress Dowager Zhou said in a sharp voice. Su Jin was helpless and could only walk out. After a while, her hands were tightly holding a wine jug as she walked in while trembling. Emo Chuan's chin was tight as he stared at the wine jug in Su Jin's hands without blinking, but he did not say a word. Empress Dowager Zhou's heart turned cold as she felt all her hopes turn to dust. "Give it to me." She reached out her hand to Su Jin. Su Jin's legs trembled. She looked at Empress Dowager Zhou before kneeling down in front of Emo Chuan. "Emperor, why don't you listen to the Empress Dowager? Could it be you really have the heart to see the Empress Dowager? Drink the poison wine?" Emo Chuan raised his head and a determined look flashed in his eyes. "Mother, you don't need to force your son. Your son has already said that even if I die, I will never separate from her." Empress Dowager Zhou's body trembled. She stared at Emo Chuan and said through gritted teeth, "This widow won't force you, this widow only regrets giving birth to a disobedient son like you. Even if this widow dies, I won't have the face to see the previous emperor." She took the wine jug from Su Jin's hands and opened the lid, pouring it into her mouth. Emo Chuan's right hand reached out and before the wine left the jug, he had already taken the jug from Empress Dowager Zhou's hands. Then he raised his head and poured the entire jug of poisoned wine down his throat. The poisoned wine was like a knife entering his throat. Emo Chuan felt a strange feeling enter his stomach, like his organs were being melted by the wine. He couldn't help frowning. His actions were very fast. Empress Dowager Zhou and Su Jin did not know martial arts, so they could only watch as he drank the entire jug of wine, not even having time to react. Chuan. Empress Dowager Zhou was shocked as she let out a heart-rending cry of pain. She threw herself at Emo Chuan as two streams of tears flowed down. Originally, she only wanted to use death to threaten and intimidate her son, but she didn't expect that her son would take the poison before her. She was so scared that she was scared out of her wits. Sujin, hurry. Hurry. Bring the antidote. Quick, 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 call Dr. Zhang. She cried out incoherently as she cried. Replying Empress Dowager, this poison wine is the most powerful Crane's Crown Red. It doesn't have an antidote. Sujin replied with a pale face. Who told you to bring real poison wine? This widow just wanted to scare the emperor. I didn't really want to drink the poison wine. You. Empress Dowager Zhou was tongue-tied. Chapter 990. What does it matter if others look down on me? I don't care at all. Your son only has one wish in this life, and that is to marry her. With her as my companion, I don't care about anything else. Emo Chuan curled his lips and revealed a faint smile. This smile was like a knife stabbing into Empress Dowager Zhou's heart. She never thought that her son would still be able to smile when he was about to die. Could it be that in your heart, nothing is more important than her? Empress Dowager Zhou said in a hoarse voice. Emo Chuan only revealed a faint smile and did not reply. But even if he did not reply, Empress Dowager Zhou knew what he meant. For her, you don't even want your life. What else can this widow say? Chuan, why are you in such a rush to drink the poison wine? Between us mother and son, what matter can we not discuss? You. If you die like this, what will mother do in the future? Empress Dowager Zhou's eyes filled with tears again. Emo Chuan's face instantly lit up. Imperial Mother, does this mean you've agreed to let your son be with her? You won't force your son to divorce my wife? You. He suddenly felt his chest churn and he couldn't help retching. Empress Dowager Zhou's face fell in fear as she said in tears, Chuan, as long as you're safe, mother will agree to anything. You can marry whoever you want, you can have whoever you want as your empress. Mother won't force you to do anything you don't like anymore as long as you live well. She patted Emo Chuan's back while shouting at Sujin, quickly call Dr. Zhang. Quickly. Sujin suddenly pursed her lips into a smile, Empress Dowager, please forgive me. The pot this servant brought over was not poisoned wine. Nothing will happen to the emperor. If it wasn't poison wine, then what was it? Why would the emperor feel this uncomfortable after drinking it? Empress Dowager Zhou couldn't help being stunned as she revealed a look of disbelief. That was a pot of old vinegar. The emperor drank this much vinegar at once, so he will definitely feel a bit uncomfortable. This servant will make a pot of tea to help the emperor relieve his jealousy. Sujin stood up and ran out like a wisp of smoke. Empress Dowager Zhou stared at her back and was stunned with anger. Emo Chuan rubbed his chest, feeling both angry and funny. His internal energy was profound. Even if he drank the poison wine, he had a way to force the poison out of his body. That was why he drank the wine in one gulp without any fear. But he never would have thought that what he drank wasn't poisoned wine, but rather a pot of vinegar. Mother, you won't go back on your words, right? He felt Empress Dowager Zhou take back her hand, patting his back, and he quickly grabbed it. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a snort. You are the emperor, your words carry weight. Does this widow's words not count? Emo Chuan was filled with joy. Empress. Empress Dowager Zhou held his hand with tears still in the corner of her eyes. The pain she had just experienced had frightened her. Now she knew that she could lose everything, but she couldn't lose her son. Emo, you want you. Emo. S face, Emotse eyes, on, you. Are you going to let her pretend to be a cripple for the rest of her life and appear in front of the officials with her face painted? She said worriedly. Mother, you can be assured your son will let her appear openly. As for anything else, your son doesn't care. Emo Chuan firmly said. Empress Dowager Zhou gave a deep sigh. She knew that her son had already made up his mind. What rumors, what jokes, he didn't care at all. Chapter 991. How about this widow think of a way to help her hide it? Empress Dowager Zhou thought about it and said. No need, many thanks, mother. Your son has already thought of everything. Emo Chuan forcefully shook his head. He knew Empress Dowager Zhou's intentions, but he didn't care. He didn't want to hide it anymore. He wanted everyone to know that the empress he married was the best in the world, the girl he was most proud of. He wanted to place the empress crown on her head in front of everyone. All right, since you've already decided, this widow won't say anything more. Can you tell this widow now, how did your empress return to your side from East Qin? Empress Dowager Zhou said. The mother and son talked for a long time in Empress Dowager Zhou's palace. When Mo Chuan returned to the Guanyu Palace, the moon was already high in the sky. There was a light in the room, and when he entered the palace, Missouri Chuan saw the faint flickering candlelight. He knew that she was waiting for him, and his heart filled with warmth. Her figure was reflected in the window paper. He stood in the yard and looked at that slender and elegant figure. He had a smile on his face as he silently stood there. He looked at her for a while and found that she was reading a book, holding her chin without moving. It was rare to see her this quiet, so he felt it was a bit strange. So he softened his steps and walked to the door of the palace. He gently pushed it, and without making a single sound, the door opened. There were no maids or eunuchs in the front hall. She didn't like people serving her, so she sent everyone away. Mo Chuan silently walked in and saw her sitting in front of the table, holding a book in her hand. However, her mind was clearly not on the book. Her hand was holding her chin and her eyes were staring at the flickering candlelight. "What are you thinking about? Why are you so lost in thought? Are you thinking about me?" Mo Chuan spoke with a smile. Chen Ning was shocked, but she recognized his voice and said with a smile, "What is there to think about?" "I'm reading a book." "Reading a book?" Mo Chuan looked at the book in her hand and nodded with a smile as he said, "It's rare to see you working so hard. How is your internal cultivation going? Did you make any progress?" She was originally smiling, but when she heard the word, internal cultivation, her smile instantly disappeared. She said with a bitter face, "Mo Chuan, what kind of martial arts did you teach me? I want to sleep when I practice it. It's not that I don't want to practice it, but I really can't." Over the past 2 days, Mo Chuan had followed Dr. Zhang's instructions and began to teach her the introductory cultivation technique. This was a secret of the Chu clan. It was very profound and profound. It was only taught to males and not females. Even the eldest princess could not learn it. This internal cultivation technique was not complicated, only having a few hundred words. Mo Chuan only taught her once and she remembered every single word. Mo Chuan also praised her. With her intelligence, she wouldn't even need a month to reach the small success realm. But after practicing for an entire 2 days, she hadn't even touched the surface. Mo Chuan remembered that when he first started practicing, he could feel a faint aura flowing through his body on the first day. She was clearly smarter than him, so how could her internal cultivation be so far behind his? "Did you not follow the method I told you to practice? Recite the internal cultivation technique again for me to hear." Chen Ning immediately began to recite it. Her voice was clear as she recited several hundred words in a single breath, not missing a single word. Chapter 992. Chen Ning stuck out her tongue and giggled as she said, "Mo Chuan, I shouldn't cultivate anymore. Your martial arts are this good, even if I cultivate for another 10 years, I still won't be able to catch up to you." Mo Chuan stared at her. "You want to be lazy? Are you afraid of suffering?" She quickly shook her head. "I'm not afraid of suffering, I've learned martial arts before. Of course I can't compare to martial arts experts like you, but against normal people, it's more than enough to defend myself. But this internal cultivation technique, I really can't cultivate it." "You know martial arts? How come I don't know about it? Show me a few moves." Mo Chuan was curious. "If I don't practice, you'll laugh at me." Chen Ning's face turned a little red. She knew that the defensive skills she learned from the modern era were nothing in Mo Chuan's eyes. "Silly girl, I am your husband, so what are you afraid of showing me? It's better for me to laugh at you than for others to laugh at you. Then again, haven't you laughed at me a few times already?" Mo Chuan said with a faint smile. When Chen Ning heard the words, "I am your husband," her heart filled with sweetness and she stood up with a smile. "All right, then I'll show you a few moves. But I don't know any martial arts, just some defensive skills. Are you willing to show me a few moves?" "All right." Mo Chuan nodded with a smile. "Then use your arms to strangle my neck." "That's right, just like this, stand behind me." Chen Ning helped him get into position. Mo Chuan couldn't help making an E sound as he said, "I've already restrained you like this and you still have a way to fight back?" Chen Ning giggled and didn't say anything else. Her hands grabbed his arm and she suddenly threw him over her shoulder. Even with Mo Chuan's profound martial arts, he was caught off guard and was thrown over by her. Only he straightened his back and steadily landed on the ground, facing her with a look of pleasant surprise and praise on his face. "This move isn't bad." Chen Ning proudly raised her chin. Before she could even boast a few words, Mo Chuan had already pointed at her nose and shook his head at her. "Although your moves are clever, without internal energy to support them, if you meet an internal energy expert they can easily break your move. It won't be of any use at all, so you must cultivate internal energy." Her smile froze on her face. Emo Chuan, I'm really not being lazy. The internal energy you taught me was all about breathing and meditation. I only practiced it for a bit before falling asleep. Are you sure you practiced it like this before? How could I be drowsy? When I cultivate, I become more energetic the more I cultivate. How about this, you practice again in front of me? Emo Chuan said in a surprised voice. Ning was helpless. She could only sit down cross-legged on the bed and follow Emo Chuan's cultivation. Hold your breath and clear your mind. Just think about how to circulate the aura you've inhaled. Emo Chuan stared at her without blinking as he gave her pointers. She had a photographic memory and was smart and quick-witted. She could learn anything with a single glance, but she didn't know why, but on the path of cultivating inner force she couldn't find the right path. After breathing in and out for a short while, she felt sleepy and yawning non-stop. Emo, I'm going to sleep first. She gave a yawn and closed her eyes. Emo Chuan was both angry and distressed. He picked her up and walked to the bed to the side. After placing her down, he covered her with a blanket. Chapter 993. Emperor, this subordinate has an important matter to report. Zhui Feng's voice came from outside the window. Emo Chuan walked in front of the window and opened it. He saw the bright moon in the sky and the silver light covering the ground. Zhui Feng's gray figure fell down from the roof like a fallen leaf. Is there any news from He Shou-jing? Emo Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes, Your Majesty, this subordinate has been following He Shou-jing for the past 2 days. Tonight, as usual, he went to drink with his colleagues after finishing his shift. However, halfway through, he went out to relieve himself. At that time, there was another person who went in with him to relieve himself. The two of them stayed inside for a total of an hour before coming out. He Shou-jing went back to drink, but that person swaggered off. This subordinate felt that the situation wasn't strange, so I secretly followed behind that person. Then I discovered that that person actually entered the Duke Xinggua's residence and didn't come out again. What did you say? Country guarding Duke? Zhui Feng, are you sure? Emo Chuan couldn't help knitting his brows as his eyes filled with disbelief. How could this matter be related to the country guarding Duke? This subordinate is definitely not wrong. That person did enter the country guarding Duke's palace. This subordinate was afraid of alerting the guards of the country guarding Duke's palace, so I did not dare follow him. After waiting outside for a while and not seeing that person come out, this subordinate immediately came back to report to the emperor. Zhui Feng replied. Hearing the words country guarding Duke, Emo Chuan's heart was filled with shock. This was because the country guarding Duke's status matched Chen Ning's guess of the real culprit. But this was simply impossible. The country guarding Duke was a hereditary Iron Hat. The current country guarding Duke was already close to 60 years old and he had been on the battlefield when he was young, being a fierce general. His surname was not Chu, but because he had been loyal to the Chu royal family for generations, he was given the surname Chu. His achievements were high and although he had not appeared in court for a long time, he still had a very important position in the court. When Emo Chuan ascended to the throne, this country guarding Duke had supported Empress Dowager Zhou. He was young when he ascended the throne and his foundation was not stable. There were some ministers loyal to the previous emperor who bullied him because he was young and made things difficult for him. It was also the country guarding Duke who raised his hand and stopped everyone's criticism. Emo Chuan had been grateful for his kindness over the years, but his body was not as healthy as before, so he no longer went to court and did not care about the matters of the court. This kind of idle old minister, it was impossible for him to be related to an assassination, but Zhui Feng could not be wrong about him. Could it be that the Duke of Xinghua was really the big fish that they had caught with their net? Emo Chuan couldn't help thinking. Zhui Feng, don't tell anyone about this. You will continue to follow He Shou-jing. He ordered. Yes, this subordinate understands. Zhui Feng floated onto the roof of the palace and quickly disappeared. Emo Chuan said. Emo Chuan closed the window and closed. He didn't want to suspect Duke Xinghua because up until now, there was no concrete evidence that this matter was related to Duke Xinghua. Qin. He. As of long of he of Zhilong. He Qin he long. Was. Yun. Long. Qin, as long as he saw her, his heart would feel at peace. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.